an independent constitutional office bearer. He has argued that this is one of the conditions that prohibits her from receiving a gratuity. Ngubai Tobi is arguing for the Office of the Public Protector, headed by Kolega Kaleka, in Mkhwebane's multi-million rand gratuity case.
But we also know from the scheme of the Constitution that the holder of the Office of the Public Protector is an independent constitutional office bearer that is responsible for investigation and reporting on maladministration under Section 181 of the Constitution. She simply cannot be an employee. She is meant to oversee the state, which on her articulation is her employer.
The city of Cape Town has invested about 7 million rand in a new digital hub tracking system for water and sanitation infrastructure. Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis says the newly launched pump station control room is being used to monitor the live performance of water and sanitation infrastructure. He says the control room is part of interventions to mitigate power failures across the sewer and water networks. The mayor says that the hub will also help to reduce the response time to false alarms.
With this new pump station control room, the city is digitally tracking the live performance of water and sanitation infrastructure, including over 450 pump stations and 60 reservoirs. During my visit to the digital control room, I was impressed by how the tracking system helps to quickly dispatch teams based on early warning alarms installed across our sewer and water network.
Qatar Airways has announced a 25% equity investment and partnership with the South African airline Airlink. The announcement was made at a signing ceremony in Doha. Airlink currently flies to more than 45 destinations in 15 African countries and is working on a growth strategy. Qatar Airways will now move to appoint 2 members to Airlink's board of directors. Roger Foster is the Airlink CEO.
We are delighted to welcome on board to a 25% equity stake in our business of Qatar Airways. Qatar Airways is a well-revered global airline, and it's got a wonderful global reach through Doha to the rest of the world. We've had a relationship with Qatar Airways for many years, and this relationship now gets strengthened by virtue to Qatar Airways taking an equity stake of 25% in Airlink.
And the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has arrived in Egypt, where he's expected to continue his push for a ceasefire and hostage release deal in Gaza. After talks with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday, Blinken says that Israel has accepted a bridging proposal and asks Hamas to do the same. More from the BBC's Tom Bateman.
The purpose here in Egypt, critically, is to discuss perhaps the main sticking point, and that is Prime Minister Netanyahu's insistence, as he's put it, that there remain Israeli troops in the so-called Philadelphia corridor, that part of the Gaza Strip in the south that borders Egypt here. He believes that's essential to Israel's security, so that there can't be weapons smuggling for Hamas to rearm itself. As for Hamas, they say that simply amounts to continued Israeli occupation, and therefore it is not an end to the war.
Recapping the top story this hour, Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber has revealed that the visa applications of the 95 Libyans found at a camp in Mpumalanga recently were fraught with irregularities. For SAFM News, Kimudupima Khalemeli.
And coming up in your sports this hour, Bruce names preliminary squad for the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. Cricket South Africa announced ticket sales for summer international season, and Cheetah Speedster completes Wales move. I'll have more on this and other sports stories at 3:30.
Feel Good Fridays just got even better with a brand new Expresso newsletter, The Feel Good Fix. Delivered to your inbox every Friday, it is your weekly dose of joy, entertainment and local flair. Subscribe now at expressoshow.com and never miss a moment.
From heartwarming stories to tasty recipes, it's all there waiting for you. And remember to tune in to the Expresso Morning Show weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on S3, and let's start your day right and channel your inner feel good.
Catch me, Bonang Mateba, on a fresh reality series that showcases the business behind being a business. Get to experience an intimate look at my life with family, personal growth, and my mission to uplift young women. Jet with me as we prepare to crown a lucky chaser. Be grounded, be entertained, and be dazzled. Monday, 6 p.m. on S3, it's a date with you and B. Catch Bedazzled by Bonang on S3 every Monday at 6 p.m.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day, where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
A good afternoon to you, and a big question I could ask you right away. What for you moves the National Pulse today? I can certainly think of the issue of the EFF and whether the pronouncements of Julius Malema is good for the EFF, that was last night, that is, or whether it may even cause further harm to the EFF. So we'll naturally get lots of response on that issue. We'll also chat to the outgoing speaker of Joburg, that is, right, Margaret Arnold, coming up later on. There's an update on My Vote Counts and their developments regarding a judgment that means that political parties once again need to be able to reveal their party funding, something that was stopped just around election time. There's a fascinating issue around personal growth for women that you need to pay attention to, that I'm certainly looking forward to it. In fact, talking about Malema, Tebogo Ditsecho will give his thoughts on Malema's communication skills and what he's got right and not. And just to end with, the Reserve Bank, they've got a competition around fascinating things around entrepreneurship and growth. We'll talk about that. And by the way, we've been talking about the SAFM birthday all month, right? So today on this show, you get a chance to win. All of that needs to happen for you to stay tuned. Let's, however, get to certainly the biggest issue of the last few hours, and that is the issue of the EFF and Julius Malema. Now, before I do that, as always, when I ask you this question, what for you moves the National Pulse? Well, you have your own opinion. You can call in 086 000 2032, and you can send me a voice note 0614 104 107. You can do the same number if you wish to text. And for those of you on social media, well, you can watch us streaming live on social media, visuals and all, get the whole backstory on Facebook as well as on Twitter. And if you are tweeting at any time, just use the hashtag #TheNationalPulse. Hashtag #TheNationalPulse. Okay, so we do know it's been a fascinating few hours, and then last night Julius Malema coming out and a lot more defiant compared to the very conciliatory tone of the previous few days when we'd heard that Floyd Shivambu, his co-founder of the EFF and really good friend, good chummy by his own recognition and acknowledgement, had moved on to the MK party. So the question we've been asking is, what do you make of Julius Malema's speech of last night? Did that speech unify, or would it even be more divisive? Let's get the thoughts of Tobani Zikalala, who's a political analyst. Tobani, I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us on the National Pulse.
Ashraf, my brother, how are you?
I'm very good indeed, yeah.
Good afternoon to you, viewers or listeners as well.
Thank you, much appreciated, yeah. I suppose as you asked me how am we should probably both be asking how is the EFF and how is Julius Malema, because I mean that's really what everybody's talking about. But I'll tell you what, before you can even answer that, let's do this. We're going to play a clip from his speech last night. And as you know, those of us who watched Floyd Shivambu's effective resignation, defection, or as I call it, a transfer, the political transfer of the season to the MK party, he was very different in terms of tone. This is what he said last night.
And join MKP We must never be blackmailed by those who want to threaten us with leaving after the Third National People's Assembly. I want to say to them, leave now. Leave now so that we can know how many soldiers we have in this struggle to liberate our people. You must leave today because nothing is going to change between now and December. Nothing is going to change now and in the future. The future looks bright because we determine it today. We are here to make our destiny for how the future looks like tomorrow. Leave now. We have no reason to beg anyone. If you want to leave, leave now and leave us alone. Even if we are alone, we'll always continue to speak truth to power. It's very painful to count the soldiers you don't have. Fellow fighters, none of you should allow anyone to bargain their loyalty for position. Anyone who bargains their loyalty in exchange for a position or deployment is an enemy agent who must be identified and isolated from our movement.
Okay, that's just part of a much longer speech that he said, but I think in many ways it encapsulates so much of what he said, so much of what he felt, and so much of his own pulse rate in terms of how it was pounding. I think that certainly came through. So, Tabani, let's get your thoughts on this, right? Just in terms of that overall question we've been asking, is the tone of Julius Malema, the words and his tone yesterday, would that unify the EFF or would that be even more divisive?
The question is the EFF united? That's the first question. Because for an organization to be divided, it has to be united. I mean, Julius Malema came out very bullish, very confident. I mean, almost his usual self. But you could see, if you know Julius, you could see that he's a bit shaken by the events that have gone on in the past few days. But as I'm saying, the question is, there's rumblings inside the EFF. He knows the rumblings are there. What he's doing now is drawing demarcation lines. And he's saying those who want to continue with me must continue with me now. But those who want to leave must leave with Floyd. I mean, even if you listen to the speech, I mean, even the speech itself, I mean, there's always been Floyd next to him. There's always been elements of Floyd in the speeches. As Floyd was known as the intellectual political thinker of the EFF, you could always sense Floyd from the speeches. You always sense Floyd around him. For the first time, he stands in front of the crowd. He's not introduced by Floyd. He's almost alone. And if you look at it, how the speech proceeds, he almost wants to take charge of his organization again. Because at all material times before, in the past 10, 11 years, there's always someone who he trusted who could delegate some of his authority to. That someone is no longer there anymore. And you could see in his speeches, you can see when you listen to him. But that's the nature of politics. I mean, in politics, people change their minds all the time. In politics, politicians are in the game for access to state administration and for power. There is no politician who enters the political space to be timid, to be a follower. Every politician enters the political space to have power, to have control, to be able to make decisions. And the question will be, does the EFF offer an opportunity for those who want to be politicians or those who are activists and who enter the political space to be able to feel as if they have the power to make decisions? Or does it resolve around the interest and the feelings of one man? I mean,
so how about you answering? How about you answering that question yourself, then, Tobani?
I mean, if you listen to his speeches yesterday, yesterday, you could hear from Julius that suddenly he takes charge. His feelings, which of course in the past has always been an accusation of him being the alpha and omega of the party. And before, because of the space he had given to people like Floyd and others, he could disagree and say, but there are many other leaders. Unfortunately, he now is leading in an organization where the ultimate trust of delegated authority only lies with him, and he can't delegate that authority to anyone. He now is a party that resolves around the interests, the feelings of one man, and that man is Julius Malema. Fortunately enough for him, he has been able to galvanize a support of EFF ground forces who will not question that power. Because again, if you saw yesterday and how they were excited, I mean, one of Julius Malema's greatest strength, not just as a political mobilizer, his greatest strength, which by his maybe a head above shoulders, everyone, every politician in the country, is his power of the tongue. How he speaks and his ability to be able to speak a language those he's speaking to can be able to understand. Lastly, Ashraf, on this matter, is that if those who have read Sun Tzu, right, Army General of War General of China, and what they have told us that he's written in his books was true, then we can say Julius Malema is weak, but he appears very strong. He is maybe in his political career the weakest he has ever been in the past 10, 15 years we've known him. Because all these years Julius Malema have known him, he has always has those who are around him who could stronghold his political influence to be able to turn it into an organizing mechanism. I mean, if you really look at his time in the youth league, he had Yofikile Mbalulas and others who were organizing for his rise in the youth league. Of course, he can always claim that he has never loved conference, but there's always been people around him who have been making way for him to be able to exercise his powers. When he started the EFF, there was Floyd, and Floyd was willing to dismantle and chop everyone who would disturb the power of Julius Malema. The question is, who does Julius Malema have now in the economic freedom fighters who will be able to do the work that those before have done? Because if you look around, you don't have experienced politicians around, and of course you see people like Shivambu and others, but in the scheming of politics and the political scheming of conferences, suddenly it seems as if Julius does not have people who have got the experience of what he has been able to do the past 5 years. And this is why I say he's almost alone, but lucky enough for him being alone means the power resides with him and him alone.
But I mean, as we always know, power residing with one person may be fine for a dictator or an authoritarian. Within a democratic political party system, that could actually well undermine the growth of the party. And maybe this is the fundamental issue. Did his speech serve to effectively galvanize even the skeptics within the EFF?
As we have said before, Ashraf, writers before have told us about what absolute power does. And we have seen in the EFF the idea of who has power and what it has done. This is just a continuation. It's just that now that power is not delegated to anyone else. It resides with Juju, and he has no one to delegate it to. But this speech, for those who believe in the EFF dream, and I've said before, that the DNA of the EFF is Julius Malema. How the fighter is characterized, it's Julius. Everyone else was an add-on because they have allowed the image of the party. So they may not suffer much defections away from the party because of this. Because the imagination of the fighter of the EFF will have to ask themselves is that, who do I identify with more? Do I identify with Floyd, the political thinker, or do I identify with the ground mobilizer, Julius Malema? And you will find that in the EFF, more people will identify with Julius, which is why the speech yesterday and the speeches is going to do will be about galvanizing those forces to be able to continue to have an organization that is worthy of respect. But will it work? Of course, we can't be prophets of prophets. So we'll have to wait and see of whether it will work. But we know that in the past few years, the political image of the EFF, as much as it has risen, but it always now has arrived where it can be questioned. All these years, they were the star boys of South African politics. But now you suddenly have to rethink and question their image, their positioning, because they've got a political opponent which wants to occupy that particular space they're occupying. And that's the formidable force that has been built in the MK party. That is giving them a run of their money. In this case, even taking it to their deputy president.
All right, so just what are you looking for next, coming out of the EFF and Julius Malema?
Of course, even though I'm much more disinterested, in political squabbles of the political elite, but I'm interested in what the next few months, of course, as Julius crisscrosses the province, what it will do, to the base of the EFF, which is the ground forces. And will Julius be able to solidify an organization that will come out in the National People's Assembly in December, united, but with a strong, capable leadership? Because, as I've said, the issue is, who does he delegate some of his powers to? Because that has been the fundamental question.
And that's what you're going to see. Okay, let's leave it at that. That's the question we need to see next. So, who's the new deputy president? And then, who does he delegate to? Tabani Zikalala, political analyst from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Appreciate you giving your input. So, I mean, yes, a chance for you to comment as well. You can call in right away. You can WhatsApp, text, voice note. You can also vote on my vote line on the Twitter account. Just check it out, Ashraf Garda, as well as SAFM Radio, and then comment on that. I look forward to having a chat with you about that. We'll talk USA next.
Every day our children are exposed to relentless marketing of unhealthy foods where they live, learn and play. This aggressive marketing of unhealthy foods to children can shape their eating habits and food preferences for the rest of their lives. I'm your host, Crystal Audison. Is big food stalking our children? Watch Chew on This on healer.org on Thursday, 15th August at 3 p.m.
Weeknights on S3 are all about winning, and winning big with Wheel of Fortune. For the first time in South Africa, Wheel of Fortune is on S3, Monday to Friday at 7:30 p.m, where Rorisang has South Africans locked into the world of word puzzles. Watch contestants spin the wheel to stand a chance of walking away with 100,000 Rand, or a car valued at over 500,000 Rand. You can also be part of the show and win big. To be part of the show, log on to wheeloffortunesa.tv and let the wheel decide your fate. Channel your inner wordsmith with Wheel of Fortune SA on S3. Open up.
You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM. SAFM.
Right, so we're going to take your calls as soon as we can. Let's get to the daily Global Watch feature that we have, and further analysis on the Democratic convention that's currently underway in Chicago in the USA, right? So what does all this mean? I mean, what's the essence of a convention, a political party convention in the USA, maybe compared to what we do in South Africa? What does this mean for the team? In this case here, a team would be Team Kamala Harris, together with Tim Walz, the running mate ahead of that November election. President Joe Biden, the current president, also gave a keynote address, a rather tearful one, I understand. Okay, let's understand even more of what happened with Sherwin Bryce-Pease, SABC's correspondent based in New York. Sherwin, good chatting to you as always. You're live on the National Pulse.
Ashraf, always good to be with you.
Thank you. What for you is the biggest takeout from last night's speech and the entire convention so far?
Well, a few speeches, right? Kamala Harris made a surprise appearance. She's, of course, going to give a primetime address on Thursday, but she stepped onto the stage to a raucous ovation from the 5,000 delegates that had gathered there, really to thank Joe Biden for all that he had done. And, you know, when Joe Biden himself came out, right, this was her week, but this was his night, really to give a valedictory speech very early in the convention. Remember, this was going to be his crowning achievement when he ran in 2020. He didn't have a convention because everything was virtual due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So this was really going to be his moment to be in the room, surrounded by adoring delegates that had already voted for him in the caucuses and the primaries, right, that lead to this convention. And as the night would have it, he was there to essentially say goodbye, to talk about his track record, his legislative accomplishments, but very much to hand the torch over to Kamala Harris. He reminded delegates, Ashraf, that he ran in 2020 to save democracy. Remember, he took the oath of office some weeks after the United States Capitol was invaded by hordes of Donald Trump supporters at his behest over his misinformed claims that the election was stolen. And so Biden talking about how democracy has prevailed, democracy has delivered, and now democracy must be preserved, as he again gave his full endorsement to Kamala Harris. He said she will be a historic president who will put her stamp on America's future. And this quote too, Ashraf, crime will keep coming down when we put a prosecutor in the Oval Office instead of a convicted felon.
Okay. Does he sound healthier? And I say healthier because you know and I know that the only reason he's not standing for the presidency is because of huge issues and concerns about his health and his fitness to stand for president. Why do I get a sense that he's sounding a lot better now?
He's still an 81-year-old. He'll be 82 when he leaves office. And I think age, he even talked about this. He said he was regarded as too young when he started his political career as a 29-year-old United States Senator, but he will leave office as an 82-year-old veteran, having served over 50 years in public office. And look, the poll numbers, the impression that he gave, his stumbles, his misstatements, it's not so much about, whether he's healthy or not. It's just how he came across, right? He came across as an old, doting, close to retirement type of individual. And there was concern that due to that perception out there, given his age, that the Democrats were going to lose the election. And so what you saw from the crowd last night was a great deal of enthusiasm, a great deal of appreciation for Joe Biden stepping aside. He says, I love the job, but I love my country more, and we need to preserve our democracy. So he says, saving the country's democracy, Ashraf, was much bigger than his personal ambitions. But make no mistake, Joe Biden did not want to leave. Joe Biden did this because he didn't want to be accused of undermining Democratic chances of holding the Senate and holding the House. And remember, if you're at the top of the ticket, you can drag down the rest of the races in the election, or you can bring them up. And the concern for him was not that about his competence, but more so how he was being perceived and how that would influence other races in this election.
Now, of course, he spoke at a convention supporting Kamala Harris, but that's expected from the same party, right? Having said that, in a very, very tight election anyway, he may be speaking to the converted, but how much does what he said, how much weight does that carry in terms of the endorsement of Kamala Harris to the point where it could convince even more people to vote for her?
Well, let's not undermine what that endorsement meant. When Joe Biden said he was stepping aside and very quickly endorsed Kamala Harris, there was a great deal of concern that we would have an open convention here where people would be nominating their preferred candidates from the floor. And what she has been able to do in just the last month, remember, Kamala Harris hasn't been top of the ticket for that long. She's named a vice president. She has pulled even or taken the lead in a number of national and swing state polls. All the 5,000 delegates have rallied behind her candidacy. Remember, it's Joe Biden's delegates that he won in the primaries and caucuses that have now changed their vote to Kamala Harris. So she's been able to get the Democratic apparatus to coalesce around her candidacy in a very short time. A little bit of political whiplash, if you will, Ashraf. So let's not undermine what Joe Biden has been able to do here. He silenced the competition that might have emerged for Kamala Harris, given his very key endorsement. So he still has influence here, but this is not his convention anymore. He has basically said his goodbye. He got on a plane to California. He's going to be watching the rest of the convention from while he's on vacation. And this is now going to be Kamala Harris's moment. I also want to just raise one more issue. Hillary Clinton also spoke last night. And you'll recall that Hillary Clinton came very close to becoming the historic first woman president of the United States. And she talked about she always talked about having left a lot of cracks in the glass ceiling. And here's one quote from Hillary Clinton. On the other side of that glass ceiling is Kamala Harris raising her hand and taking the oath of office as our 47th president of the United States. So this moment not lost on Hillary Clinton, this moment not lost on women in the United States, and certainly Kamala Harris here with an opportunity to make history come November this year.
And those endorsements, and maybe there's this new sense of, optimism or euphoria, depending on which side of the American party fence you sit. Is that translating into more votes? I know election day only comes in November, but in terms of the polls, are we seeing those shifts?
You are seeing an absolute shift. The polls were consistently showing Joe Biden lagging nationally, lagging in all the swing states. It might have been within the margin of error, but Joe Biden was basically trailing Donald Trump. That has completely shifted. The enthusiasm we have seen since Kamala Harris has become the top of the ticket, additional enthusiasm given the sort of character and personality we're seeing from Governor Tim Walz, who is her running mate, has absolutely shifted the enthusiasm around Democrats. There was a sort of morbidity around Joe Biden. Is he going to make a mistake? Is he going to stumble? That debate against Donald Trump was a real eye-opener for so many. So there's a great deal of relief and enthusiasm. What we are seeing is young people returning to this election in droves. A lot of young people are registering, and that very much is the Kamala Harris effect. And we're just at the beginning of her week here, right? We're going to hear later today, we're going to hear under the theme of Bold Vision for America, former President Barack Obama Senator Bernie Sanders, former First Lady Michelle Obama, and the second gentleman, Doug Emhoff. On Wednesday, we have, under the theme of Fight for Our Freedom, Vice Presidential nominee Tim Walz will formally accept the nomination. It will be preceded by one of the best orators in Democratic politics, who's former President Bill Clinton, Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi. And then on Thursday, the crowning moment, Harris will walk out and accept the nomination. And I tell you, we saw a lot of enthusiasm, Ashraf, at the Republican convention days after Donald Trump survived an assassination attempt. We are seeing a level of enthusiasm that many people didn't expect had Biden remained at the top of the ticket. Kamala Harris has changed the conversation.
They're all, if you think of a typical boxing match, maybe a heavyweight championship fight, they're all at this point in time, in terms of the names you've mentioned, in the Kamala Harris corner. The question is, what does Trump have to offer? Who's in his corner? You don't have to answer that now, because we will certainly chat to you about that sometime down the line. Sherwin Bryce-Peace, is always great chatting to you. I appreciate your insights. Thank you so much. Right, let's get the news headlines now. It's 3:30. Here's Madupi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garda, and a very good afternoon. In your headlines, the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research says it has noted a significant increase in fake news and misinformation which was spread on social media during the election period this year as compared to 2019. Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber has revealed that the visa applications of the 95 Libyans found at a camp in Mpumalanga recently were fraught with irregularities, and a federal court in Germany has confirmed the conviction of a former concentration camp typist for aiding and abetting mass murder. And those are your headlines. A full news update, 4 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 northbound in Sandton has roadworks reported with traffic restrictions towards Grayston Drive, and the R21 northbound in Tembisa has roadworks with traffic restrictions after the engine services. In KZN, the N2 southbound is queuing towards Spaghetti Junction, and then the N3 in Van Reenens Pass has roadworks reported with traffic restrictions between Pyramid Hotel and Van Reenens Village. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound is closed at Diepdejager Avenue. That's due to a crash causing heavy delays in that vicinity, and Main Road outbound in Observatory is slow moving towards the N2 highway. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Doming Khapele.
Chumi, you've got like a selection headache, I gather. Go ahead and tell us.
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Starting off with football, Bafana coach Hugo Bruce has named his 38-man preliminary squad for the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. In notable inclusions, Netherlands-born forward Simon van Duijvenbode, who plays for Vitesse, is included. Also, Kaizer Chiefs defender Rashwan Dotley, together with Luc Leroux and Mihlali Mayambela, who return to the side. South Africa play Uganda on the 6th of September at Orlando Stadium, then go to East Africa to face South Sudan on the 10th of September. Staying with football, South Africa is in pole position to host the Women's Africa Cup of Nations in July next year, and South African Football Association President Denny Jordan has confirmed that they have engaged the government about their plans. Morocco is set to host the WAFCON tournament this year, but it was postponed to next year as it clashed with the Olympics. The North African country is also set to host the Men's Africa Cup of Nations in December next year, and they have since stepped aside from hosting the WAFCON. And Jordan says that they've made their intentions clear to CAF about hosting WAFCON.
Well, we have submitted to CAF our intention for the next WAFCON. Of course, that WAFCON was awarded to Morocco. CAF must now respond to us, and if they respond and say yes, we will definitely take the opportunity, because that gives us the opportunity to defend our trophy at home. We are the African champions, and it's a huge opportunity for Banyana.
It would be nice to defend the title here at home, but I guess only time will tell. In the meantime, Wolves have made an offer to sign Arsenal goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale on a season-long loan deal. This bid was submitted yesterday, and it includes an option to make the movement permanent in next year. The 26-year-old lost his Arsenal place in 2023 following the arrival of David Raya in loan from Brentford. The Gunners have since signed the Spaniard on a permanent basis, and despite making making just 11 appearances last season, Ramsdale still made England's Euro squad. In rugby, the Ospreys have announced that winger Dan Kasende would be joining the team on a permanent deal from the Cheetahs in October as part of a triple signing of Bloemfontein-based backs. Kasende will join the Ospreys in a permanent move after spending a short period on loan in Swansea last November, during which he made 2 appearances in the Vodacom URC. Then in cricket, if you're a cricket fan, well, you can get ready to be part of yet another exciting cricket season as tickets for the Proteas men and women international inbound series are set to go on sale from the 26th of August. First up on the calendar is a 4-match T20 international series between the 2 men's T20 World Cup finalists, with the Proteas men having an immediate score to settle when the 2 teams meet from the 8th to the 15th of November. The Proteas will then welcome Sri Lanka for the 2-match test series starting in Durban at the Kingsmead Stadium from 27th of November to the 1st of December, before the series wraps up in Gqeberha at St. George's Park from the 5th to the 9th of December. In the meantime, the Proteas women will host England for a multi-format tour from the 24th of November to the 18th of December. Now, the tour starts with 3 T20s in East London, Benoni and Centurion, followed by 3 ODIs in Kimberley, Durban and Potchefstroom. The second ODI on the 8th of December at Kingsmead Stadium will be the 4th edition of Black Day in support of the fight against gender-based violence. Ending things off with Paralympic news, record holder Mpumelelo Mhlongo insists that mental strength is very important when competing at the Paralympic Games. The Games will take place in Paris from the 28th of August to the 8th of September, and Mhlongo says being strong mentally makes an athlete stand out against the best in the world.
You know, a long time ago when I was much younger and a lot more immature in my career, I was always told that really what separates the good from the great when it comes to those who are remembered as being the greatest of all times in whatever sporting code that they endeavor in is their mental fortitude. Because you're really standing up against the world's most talented, most dedicated athletes who have, you know, numerous avenues of support of ensuring that they bring back silverware for their country, and what it comes down to is whether or not you can be the best version of yourself and really bring out that inner gold medalist, such that you are able to run away, jump away, or outmaneuver your competition. So that's why you must really have both mental and physical stability and fortitude whenever you're entering any global stage, and you have to go up against the world's best.
That's it. It's a wrap from my side. I'll have more in the next hour.
Anything you want to say about those team selections?
Interesting inclusion from this about this 22-year-old who plays for Vitesse, Simon. He's actually born in Netherlands, and his parents are South African, and he does have a South African citizenship.
But he lives there.
Okay. So it'll be interesting to see if he'll make the cut. But a lot of people are surprised that he's included. Listen, if he can represent South Africa and he's a good forward, why not?
Shades of Hans Vonk, I think it was. That's a goalkeeper. It's a long time ago. Right, more sports in an hour.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day, where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
So we'll be chatting to Margaret Arnold shortly. Remember, she's been the Speaker of the city of Joburg, but that's all changed because of the mayoral changes that took place on, Friday night. So she comes up next. But let's chat to Michael in PE. Hi, Michael.
Afternoon, Ashraf. Just a quick one. Why is there so much disunity amongst black people? Like, why are black people always at each other's throats when black people all face the same problems? Poverty.
Why do you say?
Quality.
Give me an example. Why would you say that?
Yeah, but it's clear though. I mean, I don't have to say that. You can see. It's clear for you to see. Why is it always that there's a fight? This person is fighting this one. That one is fighting that one. It's always black people. So
here's my point of departure from you. I think if you're asking me why do so many people argue with each other and fight about many things, I will say, well, I don't know the answer. But just what I'm saying to you is to suggest that maybe black people do it more than others, I think is incorrect. In fact, I can go to every country. I can give examples of every country in the world. Ethnicity, religion, race, across the board.
You're not even giving me a chance to put my view across. You just want to interject. What I'm trying to say is this: why is there so much disunity amongst black people? That's the question that I'm asking.
All right.
Why?
Okay, I hear that. I don't have an answer. All I'm saying is I think there's also disunity amongst other people as well who are not black. That's all I'm saying. But perhaps you've thrown that question forward, and I'll leave it open to the audience. If the audience knows better than you and I, why is there so much disunity amongst black people? Well, give us a call, 086 000 2032. You can also post it on our social media platforms and send us a WhatsApp, text or voice note, 0614 104 107. Thanks for that call, Michael. Certainly got us thinking. Right, let's move on to other issues. In fact, let's get to the issues in the city of Joburg. You may know there's been, well, I suppose one can call it disunity for a while now in terms of how that impacts on this city. But we now have, so Margaret Arnold is with me and her position has changed, right? So Margaret, appreciate your time firstly. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Ashraf, and thank you so much for asking me to speak to you, but also thank you very much for the listeners that are listening to me.
Absolutely.
Good afternoon to them.
Thank you. Now, if I spoke to you last week, I'd speak to you as the Speaker of the city of Joburg, but now it's the MMC for Finance in that city. How have you coped with what I would call a dramatic change for you?
Ashraf, you know what, I must say to you that it was definitely a dramatic change, and it was definitely an unexpected change. There's some journalists that wrote that I cried because I was stripped of my position, which was very wrong, because I was not stripped of my position. I actually accepted when the new mayor, Dada Morero, decided that he wanted me on his cabinet, and I made it very clear when I accepted that I cannot serve in the legislature as well as in finance. And I took the decision after consulting with my political party that should I do this, and my political party agreed and said to me, it is an honor to be the MMC of Finance for the biggest metro or the biggest municipality in the Southern North. So yeah, it is dramatic, but it's challenging, but it's also an honor, and it's something that I take very seriously, and I would do my best in the position.
Okay, so you're saying, going back to the point made from the journalist who said you were crying, you say that didn't happen, but you did say that you were surprised. So what were you surprised about?
I was surprised. Okay, we are in coalition government.
Yeah.
And in coalition governments, we have to accommodate a lot of political parties, and we need to look at they find expression in the government of local unity. And I knew that something would happen, that I would be somewhere in the mayor's executive, but I did not know that it was going to be this position. I did not know that I was going to be the MMC of Finance, which is major.
Yes, I see. So, okay, so you were surprised. You were not surprised that you were not going to be the speaker, because that you'd agreed upon. You knew that was going to happen, that you were not going to continue as a speaker.
I knew that was going to happen. I knew that we had to accommodate more political parties, and I knew that there will be a transition. But my cry was like I was overwhelmed by the fact that now I have to carry the finances of this big city.
Well, if people need to know more about money, they know whose door they're going to knock on. So I certainly get that. but perhaps it's a good chance to just reflect, from you about your term in office as part of that unique coalition that took place before, when you were thrust into that position of speaker, and I certainly saw it as like, wow, right? What was it like for you?
To be honest, Ashraf, let me just say this to all Johannesburgers and everybody that's listening to 702. One, when I walked into the city of Johannesburg in 2016, I came in as a councillor, and the only thing that I had on my mind was to serve the people of Johannesburg. Whichever way I was going to do that, but I was going to serve the people of Johannesburg. And when in 2019, the late Jeff Makubu, may so rest in peace, had confidence in me and made me and appointed me to the position of MMC of Comdef, which some people think is just a position in jail. No. Comdef takes you from the cradle to the grave, and I was very, very happy when I got there. And then all other MMCs after Jeff had put the trust in me as the MMC of Comdef. I was like, I need to make a difference, because I think I did make a difference. And during the 25 days of the mayor, Tada Morero, I was then also MMC of Finance just for 25 days. When I just got my feet on the ground, we then came out. But then the minority parties, which is an 11-member parties from different small political parties, then rooted for me to become the speaker of the city of Johannesburg, and that was massive.
So what was it like when you say massive? How did you manage? How did you train yourself to be? What's it like being in that role?
It was great, but it was also a good learning curve, because I had to understand each and every councillor in council, except for the house, but outside, and listen to their issues, their problems, ward councillors and ward committees with problems, and overall people complaining about councillors that are not doing their service delivery, and also sometimes have to do oversight over the executive. So to me, it was big, but it was a challenge, and I think maybe I shouldn't say this, but I think you also know me well, that I take on challenges and I implement what I have to implement. So to me, the challenge, I was fit for the challenge. I did what I had to do, and I think people have appreciated it. All political parties and even people outside have said to me, Margaret, you've done a good job. So that alone says to me, I have excelled in the expectation.
Okay, well, we look forward to even bigger and better things for you now. Just your quick thought in terms of how you see this new formation playing out. I mean, you have a new mayor, you have a whole new team. How do you see that playing out?
I've always been alive to coalitions. I've always been someone that also worked towards having coalitions and stability. And I think we will only be able to see after the 100 days whether we are able to take this city forward. I know that people expect a lot. Yes, we will do it in step by step. But we are also saying to the residents that give us a chance to prove what we are able to do, because at the end of the day, we are also just human. You know, I'm sitting and talking to you now, Ashraf. I'm waiting on the officials of finance to come to me, and we sit and we discuss what is on the table, what needs to be implemented, what can be implemented, and what can be taken forward and what can't be taken forward. So definitely we will come back to the residents and say, as finance, this is our plan in place. This is what we are going to do. Remember, I'm not coming in to throw everything off the table, but I'm coming to improve what there needs to be improved.
And just as I wrap up in just one sentence, because that's all the time we have, just for you, what's the single biggest challenge of the city of Joburg right now?
I think the single biggest challenge, and there's not only one, but there's quite a few, it is how we are dealing with electricity, how we are dealing with some of our water issues, and how we are dealing with infrastructure.
Okay.
I think those are the things that we need to rectify, and those are the things that will keep the residents happy and the residents
and it needs money to be able to support all of those things, and that's where you come in as the MMC for finance. So MMC Margaret Arnold, thanks for your time, and going back to the original point, yes, having worked together with you a long time ago, I've always known you as this very, very feisty woman, and clearly you've done that and done that well. Appreciate your time.
20 outfits of the Premier League are back on the battlefield for another spectacular season, with ambitions to play the world's most competitive and compelling football.
Rodri! City 3! West Ham 1!
This is the massive fight for the ultimate glory.
Caicedo, is he going to try and beat it from inside his own half? Oh, Moises Caicedo! I can't believe it! What a way to score your first Chelsea goal!
Experience the 2024-2025 Premier League season on Saturdays at 3 p.m. live on SABC3 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on sabcsport.com. Hashtag we love it here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Hey Mike, congratulations on your retirement.
Thanks, Andile. Are you preparing for it?
Yes, but not just for myself.
For you and?
For me and my employees.
Oh.
You know, since we moved to Old Mutual Corporate, their retirement funds have not only been safe and secure, but gaining competitive returns through exposure to diverse investment markets.
Impressive.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Big ups to all the women of Africa Donga. Incredible characters in various fields. When you set your mind onto something, your winning mentality is difficult to defeat. On and off the field. Your excellence in the world of sport speaks volumes. You are the great inspiration to the nation. Happy Women's Month, courtesy of SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
SAFM, leading the conversation.
All right, what we'll do is we're going to pick up some of the other comments we've had. In fact, let's do this. Here's a comment. Good afternoon, Ashraf. I concur with Ashraf, that it's incorrect to say disunity is more towards black people, not the listener. Not reason how he arrived to that assumption, but won't play the race card itself. Okay, I'll tell you what we'll do is we're going to pick up some of the other issues here, and I want to do this. If you have any thoughts and comments on the position we had regarding Julius Malema and the interview we did around that, as well as the Democratic Convention, I'd like to get your opinions. You can comment in one of many ways, but I certainly want to hear it, including and that conversation with the MMC now for finance in the city of Joburg, Margaret Arnold, in terms of the challenges that they have moving forward and in terms of what has happened before. But if you have any thoughts, you certainly can add to that. Absolutely, I'd like to hear from you. Let's move on to other issues now. The Deputy Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Sihle Zikalala, was in Vosloorus earlier today to assess progress made on roads and stormwater projects in that region. That's in Vosloorus in the city of Ekurhuleni. This is part of the Deputy Minister's presidential or pre-presidential Imbizo program in that region. The Deputy Minister is of the view that this visit will mitigate challenges relating to public works and infrastructure projects in that area. So let's get the thoughts then of the Deputy Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Deputy Minister Sihle Zikalala. I appreciate your time. You're live on the National Pulse.
No, thanks, and thanks for having us in your program.
Thank you.
Go
ahead, yes.
As you were saying, we today went to Vosloorus under Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Council to lead the visit of the project where we assess our project we are implementing. We are rolling out phase 5 for EPWP, where we support local communities to get a job opportunity so that they get skill and sustain themselves. So we visited the road maintenance program as well as environmental preservation program that is implemented by EPWP in partnership with the local municipality of Ekurhuleni. And this is in preparation for the presidential imbizo, which will take place in Tsakane under Ekurhuleni on Friday.
So let's then talk about, what's your assessment when we talk about infrastructure? Because as we talk about infrastructure progress, the first part is the state of infrastructure in the Vosloorus region. So give me an assessment of the state of it as you see it.
Yes, we have to upscale the rollout of infrastructure, but we are happy that a number of townships in Ekurhuleni do have a reasonable infrastructure when it comes to roads, water, and we do need to pay attention to the issue of maintenance. Hence, we've complemented the municipality through the EPWP to ensure that they go through road maintenance. Road maintenance is quite important because in most cases where we see decay, it is caused by the lack of infrastructure maintenance.
It certainly does. What then is your practical plan? Give us a clear sense of, because it's always the vision, the execution within time frames and budget.
Yes, we want to achieve that all our projects are implemented on time frame, within budget. A number of projects we have achieved that, and we are ensuring that in all projects that we are implementing, we localize, meaning we should ensure that subcontractors come from local areas but create more jobs for local people. We want to scale the project that deals with environmental management. And that's why we have said we are now moving toward one township, one recycling center.
What's been the response from the residents of Vosloorus?
Well, the community of Vosloorus welcome us there quite well and did present a number of issues that they believe are a problem. Access to clinics, access to police stations, which are far, and they need at least satellite police stations. These are key issues that we believe as government we must attend to through the concept of the district development model.
Okay, let's leave it at that, and we're certainly going to track that story and see how that finally delivers, because service delivery is such a big issue, and we all know that. Sihle Zikalala, Deputy Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, appreciate your time. Let me just pick out, there's a couple of voice notes that I'll see if I can post, in fact, to use one of them, right?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Julius Malema has always been Julius Malema since he was in the ANC Youth League. He is the only detector of his own speech. So the problem did not start with the Julius in the EFF. The problem started with the Julius at the ANC Youth League. He never changed. Remember those speech when he insulted a white guy because the way he's so arrogant, and no one during that time at the ANC showed him the right direction. Now that the EFF is falling apart, people start to say, oh, Julius this, Julius that, but I know him since way back. He never changed.
He's never changed. Well, there you are. Here's a question for you. Does the position of Julius Malema right now, and in terms of his statement of last night, does that enhance the support? Will it enhance the support of the EFF, or will it actually diminish it? Either way, you can tell me yes, no. In fact, you can also go to my Twitter feed, Ashraf Garda. Just vote as well. We'll share it via SFM radio as well, but I'd like to get your calls on it. Let's get the news now. It's 4 o'clock. Here's Madupi.
Thank you very much, Ashraf. For the top stories this hour, an increase in fake news during this year's elections and Home Affairs systems fall under the spotlight. A very good afternoon. The Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, the CSIR, has noted a significant increase in fake news and misinformation spread on social media during the election period this year as compared to 2019. This emerged during a webinar hosted by the CSIR and others. CSIR researcher Avi Moodley has attributed the rise of fake news during the election period to the advancements in artificial intelligence technology.
In terms of the prominence of social media, I think it was more prominent in the 2024 election, and with the advancements on the AI-related side, there would be I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but that's a comparison that we could do. But I do think that the 2024 election may have contained more creativity in the misinformation that was spread in contrast to 2019.
Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber has revealed that the visa applications of the 95 Libyans found at a camp in Mpumalanga recently were fraught with irregularities. He updated Parliament on a range of issues this morning. Schreiber initially addressed the Home Affairs Committee on the lack of proper records management in the country and how this opens the country up to criminality. It was then revealed how this lack of digital transformation and proper record keeping is at the core of the department's problems. This became clear as the department unpacked how the issue around the Libyan nationals and the Miss SA saga unfolded. The Mudimule Regional Court in Limpopo has postponed the pre-trial hearing in the matter of housebreaking and theft at President Cyril Ramaphosa's Phalaphala farm to the 7th of October. The NPA's Mashudu Malabizangi says the attorneys representing the three accused asked the court for copies of the dockets before the matter could proceed. She says the pre-trial was also postponed due to the unavailability of the Oshiwambo language interpreter.
The three accused in the matter of housebreaking of Phalaphala Game Farm has been postponed to 7 October 2024 in Mudimule Regional Court to allow the state to disclose the content of the docket and also to have Ovambo interpreter. The alleged accused are facing the following charges: conspiracy to commit housebreaking with intent to steal, housebreaking with intent to steal, housebreaking with intent to steal and theft, and money laundering charge will also apply to Emanuela David.
The case against Sibusiso Zita, the man charged with killing renowned pastry chef Tembegile Letlape, has been moved to the High Court in Joburg. The decision was made yesterday during Zita's brief appearance in the Randburg Magistrates Court, where he was denied bail. He faces 7 charges, including murder, 2 counts of malicious damage to property, and 2 counts of domestic violence. The case has been postponed to October the 2nd. And on the international front, a federal court in Germany has confirmed the conviction of a former concentration camp typist for aiding and abetting mass murder. The woman, who is now 99 years old, had argued that it could not be proven that she'd known what was going on at the site during the Second World War. The BBC's Jessica Parker reports.
Irmgard Fürkner worked for the Stutthof concentration camp commander during the last 2 years of World War II. Some 65,000 people, including Jewish prisoners, Poles and captured Soviet soldiers, are thought to have died at the Nazi camp, which was located near the modern-day Polish city of Gdansk. Federal judges rejected arguments from Fürkner's legal team that her involvement didn't go beyond everyday neutral activities as a typist. Their decision is final and upholds a 2-year suspended sentence that was handed down in 2022 in a case that's considered as possibly the last of its kind.
The top story at 4 o'clock, the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, the CSIR, has noted a significant increase in fake news and misinformation spread on social media during the election period this year as compared to 2019. For SAFM News, Kimudupima Khalemeli.
Come up in your sports, the Sawa Erasmus names Springbok squad for the 2 tests against the All Blacks, and Bangladesh captain hopes Shakib shines despite political setback. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in central Johannesburg is slow moving towards Crown Interchange. The N1 northbound in Pretoria has roadworks with traffic restrictions towards the R21 highway, causing some serious delays. And New Road in Midrand has roadworks with 1 lane open on the ramp to the N1 southbound. In KZN, the N3 westbound in Ashburton has a stationary truck after the Mlaus Road exit. The N2 southbound is queuing towards Spaghetti Junction, and Umgeni Road westbound slow moving through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, the R300 northbound has ramp closure with no access to the N2 outbound due to flooding. The N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound is queuing towards Hospital Bend. The M5 southbound is slow moving towards Kromboom Road, and the N7 Jakes Havel Drive southbound is queuing at Voortrekker Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
It's Elimination Week on the Tastemaster Junior. This Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2 as the bottom 6 bake to stay in the competition. It's all about desserts as the contestants recreate their versions of a family favorite, warm and comforting pudding. But will it be enough to impress the judges and earn them a spot in the next round? That's the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday at 7. Repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2. Big ups to all the women of Africa Donga. Incredible characters in various fields. When you set your mind onto something, your winning mentality is difficult to defeat. On and off the field. Your excellence in the world of sport speaks volumes. You are the great inspiration to the nation. Happy Women's Month, courtesy of SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy.
So, you know, we've been talking about this all month, and let's talk about it even now. SAFM celebrating its birthday, our birthday, 88 years for SAFM. Can you believe it? I mean, I'm going back that long time ago, right? The names may have changed over that period, I can tell you. But so part of that, 88,000 rands in cash being given away, which is 10 lucky listeners winning 8,800 rands each. Of course, we're spreading the wealth, if I can call it that, right? Now, you can win. To stand a chance of winning, what you need to be doing is this, right? That's your share of the 88,000 rands. So step one, number one, you need to stay tuned to SAFM. That's like you need to be listening now and just now as well. Number two, you need to SMS, not WhatsApp, SMS. And the SMS message must say the message must say SAFM 88. and then you put on your name, and the SMS number is 41391. No other SMS number will work. 41391 is the SMS number. Your message must say SAFM 88, and you put down your name. Now, entries, as you know, have been running all throughout the month. It will close on the 30th of August, and this is the other important one. Step 3, once you put down and you SMS us, random numbers get drawn into from various shows throughout the month, and I have no influence over it, I can tell you now. The winner then will be called by the producer to be put on air with the presenter, and the listener must answer. You must answer when I call you, when I say hello to you. You must say SAFM 88. If you say how's it, if you say Springboks, if you say Kaiser Chiefs, it's not going to work. EFF won't work. ANC won't work. You must say SAFM 88. Then you'll win that prize of 8,800 rands. And just finally, in the event that the owner of the number cannot be contacted, then he or she will be disqualified from winning. Well, that's pretty obvious. And then we'll call somebody else who will answer with saying SAFM 88.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, to tell you, we will have another take on the issue of the EFF and Julius Malema coming up after 5. We'll be chatting to Tebogo Ditsejo, giving us his thoughts in terms of Julius Malema's communications and his state of mind, the way Tebogo sees it, being a communications expert, communications authority. Well, let's get to the Eastern Cape now. There are huge issues that are going on in the Eastern Cape around the issues of extortion. And that's just what it is, people being forced to pay money to stay in business, right? As a result of that, the Eastern Cape ANC is calling on the government to deploy soldiers in crime hotspots in that province. And the case of extortion, in particular around Mthatha region as well as Gqeberha. According to the ANC, there's a 1 billion rand road being constructed by Sanral in the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality that has been blocked by individuals extorting money from the service provider. Yeah, this is a huge issue. Let's find out more with the ANC's Eastern Cape Provincial Head of Communications, Gift Ngondi. Gift, appreciate your time. You're live on the National Pulse.
Much, Ashraf, and thanks very much for giving us this opportunity. I think let's start from this premise, Ashraf, that...
Okay, I'll tell you what you do. Before we start, there's people responding, and I think it's a really big issue, right? I want to just pick out one of the things that we have on the show is we have listeners from all around the country, and they feel their pulse rates racing when things just go wrong, and this is one example.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ashraf. It's Fred the Trucker here in Northern Cape. Mr. Ashraf, the situation in Mthatha is moving my pulse and is moving my nerves, Mr. Ashraf. The criminals have been left to do as they please. If you don't have escort of security guards, you cannot deliver in Mthatha. This has been left for a longest time. It's about time somebody does something.
Okay, that's your message just encapsulates exactly what people are thinking. So, Gift, okay, you've heard that. Perhaps you can tell us now, how did we get into this position?
Look, Ashraf, I think first and foremost, let's appreciate the stakeholder meeting that was called last week, which was convened, by the way, by the Minister of Police, Comrade Senzo Mchunu. And that meeting comprised of the MEC in the province of community safety, all mayors in the Wartamo district, but also Nelson Mandela, and also the Premier was part of that meeting. And in that meeting, it was made very clear that there must be beef up of security organs in the province because of the escalating crime that has been predominantly in the areas of Nelson Mandela, in particular, Gqeberha and Kariega, and also in Mthatha, and also in the areas of Kumbu. But not only on the issue of extortion, but also on the issue of stock theft. So that particular meeting, I believe just 2 hours ago, it bears fruit because there's a statement issued by the National Commission of Police that they are going to beef up the police, they are going to bring the task team, they are going to bring the initial intervention unit to be based in Mthatha and also in Gqeberha and Nelson Mandela. So this is a welcome intervention because we have been making this cry Ashraf, since last year, in all our platforms and forums, we've been calling for intervention of the beefing up of the security cluster because we feel that our people in the province are feeling under threat. You'll recall, Ashraf, in a show some few weeks back, there were people even in Nelson Mandela who were complaining that they can't go to church because they're afraid of being robbed. People are afraid to go to clinics because they're afraid to be robbed. People are afraid to go to funerals, go down to be robbed. And this has been happening in Nelson Mandela. But also, just to escalate this, in Amtata in particular, there have been reports of the extortion since last year, and that's why we've been making that strong call that crime intelligence must beef up, because we can't tolerate this situation when our people are living in fear in our own homes.
Okay, but let's be clear about it. I mean, I understand the problem. Are you calling for increased security, or are you calling for the army to come and effectively help the citizens?
In fact, to be precise, we've been calling for the increase of the police visibility in all these areas. The call that has been made on the deployment of the South African National Defence Force was based on the premise that there were two particular projects, one in Umtendo Bridge and one in Kabeja. I think it's on the road to Ado, where those two catalytic projects have been hijacked and stopped. And I know for a fact that the PRINA also appealed to the president that there must be intervention where deployment of the South African National Defence Force are beefed up in those two areas, because we can't allow these catalytic projects to be hijacked by criminals.
Okay, so you're not calling for the army then? I'm being clear.
No. We know for a fact that the issue of the army has got its own limitations, because we have to apply to the president, and there's also the issue of budget allocation. So this particular one, we are calling for the beefing up of the police, intervention on the task response team, on the National Intervention Unit, but also on the beefing up of crime intelligence. And that cry has been responded to today by the National Commission of Police.
So not just now, I mean, early on Sakina's show around at 12 o'clock, I mean, she was speaking about something similar, and it's not just things like roads, but also stores, and normally we think about nightclubs and things, but no, these are just ordinary stores, and people are, again, being extorted, which means they're shutting down businesses now.
Ashraf,
yeah.
This is very bad, especially in areas like Amtata. We have been receiving correspondences from medical practitioners that they are closing their surgeries because they've been demanded these protection fees. I mean, big business in Amtata, your social garages have been complaining that they've been paying these extortion fees, and we can't allow this because this is going to lead to unemployment, and most of the business.
Well, I mean, it's already led to unemployment. So my question is, how did we get to this? I mean, what does this say outside the call for the defense force that we don't want? How did we get to a situation where there's you have a democracy, you also have safety and security, they've got personnel, and clearly there are people who believe they can get away with this, and that's why they're doing this?
It's just lawlessness, Ashraf, and that must be dealt with heavily and decisively.
But it can't just be lawlessness. It actually says lawlessness continues or thrives because those who are lawless believes that they will not be stopped. They can get away with it.
Ashraf, the issue of extortion is not only a South African phenomenon. It's a worldwide phenomenon. You recall in countries like Cambodia, where people demand protection fees from business people. So we were shocked that this trend has even arrived in South Africa. You also recall that this has been predominantly in the Western Cape, where business people in areas like Yolanga, Kaile, Chakugulete have been complaining that they've been demanded these protection fees. We were shocked that it has also come into our attention that it has arrived in the province. Not only in Amtata, by the way, Ashraf, there's areas like Aiduja and Willowvale where people are being demanded these protection fees, and that's why we've been making this appeal, Ashraf. That
so who are these people?
Must identify these people.
Well, I was going to ask you, who are these people?
These protection fees.
Who are these people?
That's why we're saying, if people know these people, there must be a campaign, or there must be a line where their names are being reported to. But also, Ashraf, I think government sectors, in fact all levels of government, I think they must launch an anti-extortion campaign to encourage our people to report these incidents, to assist the police and law enforcement agencies so that they can better identify these protection racketeers. Because to me, success will require a multifaceted approach that will involve many stakeholders, including the Hawks, crime intelligence, and organized crime investigators.
Yeah, I'm saying, I mean, I listen, I mean, I'm all for a campaign, but I'm just saying, it's less about the campaign and more about saying, even if you choose to want to extort, we will not allow it because our systems are in place and we won't. And I'm suggesting once again that it continues and thrives because the system of policing and implementation is very poor. And that's the reality.
No. I don't disagree with you. That's why we've been calling that there must be beefing up of these crime intelligence officers, because police on its own cannot solve these crimes. Crime intelligence, where let me just recall on this. During the time of apartheid, there was something called slush fund, and that slush fund was normally used by the intelligence of the time of the apartheid to demonize the people who were fighting for liberation. And there were people called informers. And I think it's high time that also crime intelligence have people who work as operatives or informers in our own townships, in all our areas, so that they can identify these people who are demanding these professional fields. That will be easily.
Well, let's see what happens. I thank you for that. I just think at the moment as people are listening, and I tell you what, particularly if you are from the Eastern Cape, if you're from Gqeberha, if you're from Tata, if you're from that region, and I hope you're not a victim of extortion, but if you're aware of it, I want to get the human story. What impact is it having on you? And are you one of those businesses who've been forced to shut? We spoke to someone from Long Street, Cape Town the other day. We're at a nightclub, and it's like he's packed up and gone. It's like, thanks, it. I can't continue any longer. That's the type of issues that are a huge concern. So if you are from that region, and I don't mean a politician, I mean just you as a person, I want to hear from you, and I want to hear from you now because your pulse rate must be racing. Gift Mondi, thank you for your time.
It's Elimination Week on the Tastemaster Junior. This Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2 as the bottom 6 bake to stay in the competition. It's all about desserts as the contestants recreate their versions of a family favorite, warm and comforting pudding. But will it be enough to impress the judges and earn them a spot in the next round? That's the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday at 7. Repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
Upgrade your TV game with the SABC TV License Rewards. It's your golden ticket to VIP treatment. Imagine signing up at sabctvlicenserewards.co.za, racing through a few steps, and bam! Instant reward, just for being you. Plus, pocket up to 500 Rand back. That's the cherry on top. But wait, it's not just about the cash. We're talking about sweet deals and epic rewards. Think discounts on all your favorite things, from shopping to travel and entertainment. Your payment unlocks a world of fun. So, why wait? Dive into the excitement. Join the SABC's TV License Rewards at sabctvlicenserewards.co.za. Hit those buttons and watch your TV experience level up. T's and C's apply. Remember, TV license fees aren't just payments, they make a difference.
SAFM, leading the conversation.
So, we spoke about this on the back of South Africa winning 6 medals at the Olympic Games. And then once again, that question came up, should we host the Olympic Games? So I made the point, and I said, I love sport. I really, really love sport. And I said, I don't think we should host the Olympic Games. I think we can invest that money into absolutely really growing grassroots sports in our country so we can compete in the games, not so much complete the games as in hosting. Compete, not complete. Now, it's interesting. That's my thoughts. Koshi Karan is an entrepreneur. He's a serial entrepreneur, of course, and I still follow him on the Twitter or the X platform. And he's actually suggesting something similar to me. He's like, no, it's a bad idea. He said Cape Town in particular, hosting the Olympic Games in 2040 is a terrible idea. So let's find out why. Koshi Karan, thanks for your time. You're live with the National Pulse.
Thank you so much for having me, Ashraf. I know that you are quite a avid paddle player yourself, so I know you have strong views on the Olympics. But
well, I didn't know that we should play paddle. That's another whole conversation completely.
I don't want to take up this challenge on national radio and lose. So let's park that. But okay, let's get stuck into it, right? I think it's an absolutely terrible idea, right? Very strong allergic views to this, and I'll tell you why. Mm-hmm. But let's start off with the first point here, which is nobody wants the Olympics. Nobody, right? 5 countries bid for 2024. 3 pulled out, only 2 are left, LA and Paris.
Okay.
2024 went to Paris, 2028 went to LA. And here's why. You need at least $12 billion to host these games, right? And aside from that, Ashraf, the bidding process really sucks, right? Chicago spent $100 million over 10 years only to find out that they're not going to get the 2016 Olympics, right? So it's really expensive without any guarantee of you getting it in the first place. The second point is every single Olympic Games since 1960 has exceeded its budget. Every single Games, right? Rio went 3.5 times over budget. Montreal in 1976 was 13 times over budget. It took them 30 years to pay that off.
Yeah.
Right? Wow. I think most of your listeners already know, what happened in Athens in 2004. It ended up being one of the drivers that sparked this European debt crisis.
Within a decade, right? Yeah.
Within a decade, within 10 years, right? The event itself, the Olympic Games, is loss-making, right? The cash that comes in from tourism, ticket sales, TV rights, they don't outstrip the cost of hosting these games.
So what about the flip side? Let me just jump in here. What about the flip side to say, well, if we host the games and, we can say ditto Rugby World Cup, ditto 2010 FIFA World Cup and the Cricket World Cups, but especially with the FIFA World Cup, what about the point about look at the tourism boom, look at the investment in infrastructure, look at how it escalates infrastructure advancement a good few years, which would have never ever happened if we did not host a World Cup. So, and then maybe there's a great sense of national pride. I mean, how do we put a value to that? So the case for hosting a games would be just that, the feel good factor.
Yeah, and you know what? You're 100% right. You can't put a price on patriotism and the nostalgia that it brings, and the ulysses among sports fans. Those are intangibles and you can't. But what you can put a price on is the cost and the income and the financial loss, right? Let's take 2010. 2010 Soccer World Cup, it cost us about $3.6 billion. Our income from that was roughly $500 million. So we made a loss as South Africa, financial loss of $3 billion, right? And then you overlay, all of the stuff that happened, illicit construction mafia and some of the negative things that happened around the World Cup. And, from a financial perspective, it was a loss. But here's how soccer, rugby, football is different to the Olympics. The Olympics are very rigid in terms of their standard and criteria around infrastructure and the sports that go with it. And so, you've got to create all of these facilities and all of these stadiums to Olympic spec. So, the next question is, what happens post the Olympics? Now, statistically, all of these facilities that get built, more than half of those facilities are utilized post the Olympics, right? In Rio, Tokyo, London, Beijing, most of those venues aren't used. Whereas in football, cricket, rugby, you still have a domestic league and you have international tours and you can make use of those stadiums. But even then, Ashraf, you're seeing it now. Whether it's Cape Town Stadium, whether it's some of the stadiums in Durban, there's a struggle to get permanent tenants into those stadiums.
And I'm aware in other countries in the world, I mean, they've had to sort of shut down these big football stadiums like a few years after their World Cup. So, I mean, clearly you're right about that. Yeah. What then about, let's then move on to the other point. So if we're saying, no, it's not worth it, no, we're going to lose money, right? Can the Olympic Games be a catalyst for tourism? And I'm talking about a financial gain. I mean, is that possible?
Look, I think it can, right? I mean, first prize is obviously looking at other options. I mean, maybe the question is, what can we do instead of the Olympic Games, right? And what can we host? I mean, there's a number of things we have hosted in the past, some successful, some less successful. But, in terms of a priority list, looking at Cape Town specifically, Ashraf, the number one thing you can do is improve affordable housing in Cape Town, right? Paris has gone on this, this big media blitz talking about how they did a conversion of the Olympic Village into, social housing, which is great. albeit the social housing now costs 100% more than if they had their capital plowed directly into social housing in the first place, right? So, some of the things we can do or think about doing is invest that capital, like you said at the top of the insert, invest and pump that capital into existing athletes, grassroots development, talent academies, upgrade our existing facilities and infrastructure, but most importantly, before we decide to host Olympic Games with largely what is minority sports, right? Many of these sports, whether it's canoeing, table tennis, badminton, they don't get a lot of international attention and they don't have a lot of private funding outside those years. And so those athletes struggle. What we should be looking to do is establish private funding models and corporate partnerships for minority sports before we get to a point where we're comfortable investing in infrastructure.
It's a good point. Yeah. Let me end with this. We're on to news time. You gave the examples of countries not bidding. I think the same is applying even to the Commonwealth Games, where you almost by default just win the games because nobody wants to bid. That does suggest that whereas the international model of hosting sports events are just magic to attend, the model is not working any longer. So if not that, then what?
Yeah, it's a bit like owning a swimming pool, Ashraf. I mean, you use it a couple of days a year and it looks excellent, but the rest of the year you spend a lot of time and money making sure the pool is clean. Right? So, an alternative to that model is picking the sports that we know are commercially viable, the sports that we are successful in, and most importantly, looking at the actual underlying economics, be it TV rights, sponsorships, licenses, etc., to make sure that it makes financial sense. Because if it makes financial sense, then everything else falls into place. Okay,
let's leave it at that. Of course, we can talk more, and I'm sure we'll do another chat sometime down the line. But if anything else has stuck out for me, is the point. How often do you use your swimming pool? That's what the Olympic Games or staging Olympic Games really means in money terms. Koshi Karan, thank you for your time. Let's get to the news headlines now. It's just gone 4:30. Here's Majupi.
Thank you very much. And Ashraf Garda, in your headlines, Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber says his department must be transformed in the digital arena to safeguard national security in South Africa. The Council for Scientific and Industrial Research has noted a significant increase in fake news and misinformation spread on social media during the election period this year as compared to 2019. And a tearful U.S. President Joe Biden has received a rapturous reception at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago as the crowd chanted, "Thank you, Joe." And those are your headlines. A full news update coming up 5 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in central Johannesburg, slow moving towards Crown Interchange. The N3 in Bedford has a crash reported on the link to the N12 East at Gululis Interchange. The M1 southbound is slow moving through Crown Interchange towards Boysons, and Eskom Patleli Drive northbound in Pretoria has delays towards Mood Street. In KZN, the N2 southbound queuing through Amanzimtoti. The N2 southbound is queuing towards Spaghetti Junction, and the N3 eastbound in Pietermaritzburg has roadworks reported. The right lane is closed between Market Road and the Gladys Mzansi Bridge for long-term roadworks. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound has heavy traffic towards Bellville. That's after an earlier crash near Yiptiaga Drive. The road has finally been reopened. Voortrekker Road outbound slow moving through Maitland, Victoria Road outbound slow moving through Woodstock, and Hilberson Drive northbound in Poortesig slow moving towards Bosmanstam Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Right, I'm continuing to watch read the Rassie book, okay? So it's in my mind. Let's talk rugby.
Well, we are talking about Rassie Erasmus. He named the Springbok squad for the 2 tests against the All Blacks. Steven Kishoff and Jaden Hendricks with Kenan Moody. They back from injuries. Jasper Visser and Andre Esterhazen are making a return from suspension, while Morne van der Berg and Johan Grobler have been left out. South Africa face New Zealand next week, Saturday, and the 7th of September. September. In cricket, Bangladesh's cricket captain says that he's confident that ace all-rounder Shakib Al Hasan will compete at his best in a test against Pakistan this week after protests over the former lawmaker's inclusion. Shakib was a member of the now dissolved Bangladesh parliament led by the ex-premier Sheikh Hasina, who was forced to flee the country at the start of the month following mass protests. The interim government last week gave permission for Shakib, who has not commented on the political crisis, to feature in the two tests against Pakistan, the first of which starts tomorrow, and the second test will be played in the same stadium from the 30th of August. Then in athletics, Paralympian Luzon Coetzee has confirmed that she will compete in her third Soweto Marathon. The highly anticipated People's Race is set to take place at a new venue along the Golden Highway, concluding at Nasrec on the 3rd of November. Coetzee, who's currently preparing for her third Paralympic Games in Paris from the 28th of August to the 8th of September, has already completed two 42.2 kilometer marathons. However, she is yet to decide whether she will participate in the 10 or 21 kilometer race this year.
I'm excited. I've got a new sponsor. I'm hopeful and I'm very excited for the race this year. I'm still deciding if I'll do the 10 or the 21 or the 42. Probably not the 42. But we'll see. I'm excited for Soweto. I think it's going to be a new start for them, and I'm very excited for what it's going to bring to the table.
In tennis, world number one Yannick Sinner has been cleared after testing positive for doping. The incident is said to have occurred during the Indian Wells tournament in March, where his fitness trainer purchased a product that was used to care for a cut on his on the finger of his physiotherapist, where he reached the semi-finals. Now, physio then treated Yannick without gloves, which caused the contamination of the banned substance called clostebol. Then finally, in UFC middleweight title holder Dricus du Plessis has said that he's ready for any possibilities regarding his next fight. The organizers are believed to be considering matching up the champion against Alex Pereira or Sean Strickland before the end of the year. And responding to questions about who could be his upcoming fight, the South African says that he actually doesn't mind who he's going to face next.
I mean, I have to be honest there. I honestly don't think Alex Pereira should drop down to 185. If he wants to, great, perfect. But then we're going to hear the excuses. I saw we saw Izzy stiff that man in the first round. I felt Izzy's punching power tonight. If that, Izzy has great timing. He's fast, he's long, and he has great combinations. But I felt the power. If Izzy stiffens you like that, you do not want to be in there with me, especially not when you're going to come in there with the excuses, no, I cut too much weight. That's going to happen. Everybody's going to say that. So stay at 205, fight your fight against the number 7 ranked guy.
Number 8.
Oh, number 8. Okay, cool. Well, I mean, fight your fight there and enjoy it. If Strickland's the next fight, the people want to see that fight. That's the fight that people want to see, and that's the fight right now that people think is the next best guy. Then it's the fight that I want. So let me handle my business, you handle your business. You don't have to cut the weight so you have some sort of excuse. I'll come up after the Strickland fight, I'll come up to 205 and we'll sort it out there.
We'll talk about handling his business. He did handle his business this past weekend. And just the fight that we're talking about in terms of who he's going to face, the big question is it going to happen in South Africa? Because the mayor of Cape Town, Jordan Hill-Lewis, did say that should Dricus win, the city of Cape Town is going to bid for his next fight.
It's cheaper than Olympic Games.
Definitely. So we wait to see if it will come to South Africa. But that's it. It's a wrap from us.
All right, perfect, good. Well, it's so interesting about this Olympic Games. Well, I'll just make that point again.
Yeah.
That there are countries that are pulling out of bidding from Olympics, Commonwealth Games. I mean, Koshi made the point. The next Olympics, there were 5 countries. 3 have already pulled out. They can't afford it.
It's a lot of money, too expensive.
Although a city hosts it, the country has to actually bankroll it ultimately. More sport in an hour.
Welcome to the team, Andile.
Thank you.
What will be your first order of business?
Well, ensuring our greatest assets are taken care of.
Our vehicle fleet?
No, Our employees. You see, I want them to feel confident in our company's employee benefits, and Old Mutual Corporate is perfect for that. They take care of everything, from retirement benefits to health and group risk solutions, consulting, and more.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Insurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
The basic needs of the masses of the people must be addressed.
When scores of South Africans across the country cast their first democratic vote in those long crisscrossing queues, when we laid our hands on that coveted Webb Ellis Cup for the very first time, nice. When Mzansi's early risers beat daybreak in huddles of 4-4 Mahlalisane to dig precious gold and keep our economy alive, through the TV screen, the mobile app, and the unshakable power of radio, we are the gateway to the twists and turns of Mzansi's maturing democracy. Weave your brand into the fabric of South Africa's colorful story and be there. Contact SABC Sales at sabc.co.za for more.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day, where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, let's get to the markets. Baswani Impatlele with me, Senior Account Manager at Makwe Fund Managers. Good chatting to you as always. Local and global markets coming up next, but Cecil has got results that are not so good.
Yes, Ashraf, looking into Cecil's results, the financials for the year end reflected a struggle in absorbing the external market conditions, especially in the chemical business, where we saw them record a significant impairment loss of around 56 billion, driven by the volatile prices in that market, oversupply in the global market, and that has seen them record a loss before interest and payments. And meanwhile, the headline earning was down 66%, indicative of that revenue decline of 5%, and has put some of their financials under a lot of pressure, and seen the business now having to declare that their final dividend will not be paid out, and they will do a lot of capital management, and this disappointed investors. We saw the stock down 5%, but not only so loss for the company as their operations. It did show some improvement in the last quarter through cost, also including cost reduction efforts they've made, but this won't be enough right now to maintain that profitability. And looking into the markets in general, Ashraf, we see that the market is still dealing with the two largest risks right now, being the Middle East. We're seeing Nvidia earnings coming up at the end of the month, but just some positivity that came through is that we're seeing that ceasefire deal in the Middle East coming to a closer end, and this has helped downgrade the risk. We see oil prices not declining so significantly as we've seen in recent time, has helped general the risk sentiment on equities, which continues to be broader in general as the momentum, as investors continue to cut pricing rate cuts and the soft landing in the US. But general market gains today were kept, have the gains kept, and that's at the back of the upcoming Fed minutes coming tomorrow. US opened up earlier on in the morning, but they failed to keep up those gains. Europe is under pressure as commodity price and energy prices are still weak. We see FTSE was down 0.9, CAC and DAX were down 0.1. Locally, we managed to keep gains of 0.1, supported by our resource sector up 1.7%. Financials down 0.6, industrials down 0.2, and this thanks to the likes of the gold being at all-time high of $2,526 an ounce, platinum up 0.2 at 960, with oil is still up but marginally at $77.87 a barrel. Rand lost 0.5% against the likes of the dollar, sitting at 17.82. Rand against the euro is 19.78, and rand against the pound 23.21. Ashraf.
Okay, great. We will chat tomorrow. Of course, big issues about Cecil. I know that we'll probably have a full analysis of that on the business show coming up at 6 o'clock. Thanks for that, Paswani. Right, we're going to have, it's competition time. Are you at your phone?
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
Right, you know the story, you know the brief. We've already asked you to submit your SMS, right, as part of the SAFM 88th birthday. So 10 people will share 88,000 rands, which means if you're one of the 10, you'll win 8,800 rands. But this is like the most important thing. You know that already. We've asked you to submit. That's all done. The main thing is Keys, my producer, will call you now. And there's only one way you can win. If you say, how's it, Keys, you lose, okay? You have to answer by saying SAFM 88. Let's see what happens.
SAFM 88?
Oh, goodness, you are a winner, man. That's thrilling. I want to deal with winners every single day, so I'm thrilled that you won. You can scream.
Oh, thank you so much, Ashraf.
Oh, there we are. Tell me about you. I mean, you got 8,800 rands to blast now. So.
Oh, it's a godsend, Ashraf. My daughter's getting married at the end of September, so I can go and get myself a lovely outfit now. I'm very grateful. Thank you very much.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, you see, that's what happens sometimes. It just comes at the right time. But hopefully it won't be an 8,800 rand outfit. We can probably get a discount for you and maybe a 2,000, even if it's worth 8,800 and you've got 6,000 extra to spend, you know. Well, I'm glad that where do you stay? I mean, which part of the country do you live? Don't give me your address. I don't want anyone to knock on your door. In Durban. Okay, right. And but keep on listening to SAFM, and now you know that being a listener doesn't just enrich you in terms of the intellect, which is really the whole plan, but also puts money into the bank at a time when you absolutely need it most. And thanks for and best wishes for the wedding.
Yes, thank you very much, Ashraf.
There we are.
You.
Okay,
thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I don't want to ever call someone for this competition and get them to answer in the wrong way. I don't want that. That is a heartbreaker when they've just made a mistake. There'll be more of this to give away as we get to the end of the month. You know that, right? Let's do this. I'm going to pick out some of your calls and WhatsApps right after this.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
There's an SMS I want to just pick up. Ashraf, Hitler was also a good orator, so history records. So I guess we will have to see how he survives, referring to, well, you know who. Okay, let's get to some of the callers now. Anonymous wants to comment on the EFF. Hello, Anonymous. You're live on the National Pulse.
Thank you so much, Ashraf. Thank you for welcoming me.
Thank you. Go ahead.
We welcome you in our homes, too. Ashraf, I just want to talk about the EFF, and I want to say, you know, I can hear the tone in his voice, and I can hear how he feels with his partner.
Okay, I tell you what, I'm going to stop you. Not because I agree or disagree with you. We just can't hear you. The line's just not audible. I'm so sorry about that. Hopefully we'll get you on a better line next time. But at this point in time, we just can't. But there are further comments on Julius Malema. Here's one.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Theo in Cape Town. Ashraf, what I'm going to say in the EFF is like Julius Malema need to take control of the party, yes, but he must also allow people, because you can only work with other people. Allow other people to shine, other people to take the lead as well. You know, it must be separation of power. It must not be that everything is him, everything is, all conferences he's going to shine, everywhere it's him. No, it must not be like this. And if you look at for the Democratic Convention, I think it's going to the right way. Yeah. It's going to the right way. Joe Biden was yesterday so flamboyant, and also if you look at Kamala Harris, I think like there are many chances for Kamala Harris to win, to become the first female president of the United States. Thank you. Theo in Cape Town.
Okay, here's another.
Now, Ashraf, what I'd like to say, you know, with this construction mafias or paying for protection on your businesses. I know one guy who he tried going to the police per se, and the same police that he went to go make a pain to are the same police who actually went to go tell this mafia guy so and so came to police station and made a complaint. You know what these people did? They went straight to his house and they burnt it. So it's not a matter of there's not enough. Not the fact that people don't know who these people are. They do know them, but they fear for their lives because you go to the police go straight back to them. Usually from Newcastle.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. It's Chris in Maritzburg. Yes, it's true. This has been allowed to deepen and take root precisely because our politicians are well protected. We are spending 1 billion to protect politicians when we, ordinary citizens, are exposed to all these criminals. We need very drastic steps. Criminality cannot be allowed to rule and threaten us on a daily basis. Thanks.
Okay, just quick thoughts on those comments. Thanks for those. I'll play some more as well. On the Julius Malema one, I mean, I can't say I know him personally. I've interviewed him, but not in terms of really knowing his mind. But I will say this much. I think it does state the obvious. There's no way you can build a big project on your own. You have to have other people. I've often spoken about you build a champion business by building a champion team. You build a champion institution like a political party. You have to have the team. You want to build a rugby team that wins a World Cup, you have to build a champion winning rugby team. You can't be on your own. So I think that is a point that's well noted. As far as the construction mafia is concerned, the point that was made is like, as someone said, as you said earlier on, that yes, it's not about the numbers of policing. It's just they'll burn your house down. But it still then goes back to policing. I'm just saying something has to change, or else you can't just allow it to run rampant. And I think, Chris, that call from Maritzburg, saying something similar. This cannot be allowed to continue. It undermines an entire country. We can't say, it's happening in Cambodia as well. So how does that make a person in the Eastern Cape feel any better? It just can't, isn't it? Let's talk about women in leadership after this.
20 outfits of the Premier League are back on the battlefield for another spectacular season, with ambitions to play the world's most competitive and compelling football.
Rodri! City 3! West Ham 1!
This is the massive fight for the ultimate glory.
Caicedo, is he going to try and beat it from inside his own half? Oh, Moises Caicedo! I can't believe it! What a way to score your first Chelsea goal!
Experience the 2024-2025 Premier League season on Saturdays at 3 p.m. live on SABC3 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on sabcsport.com. Hashtag we love it here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game. Reigning champions, the Citizens, fully get it that early wins in the league serves you right when pressure kicks in.
On it goes to Foden, 2-0! The master marksman, Phil Foden, you absolute beauty!
However, the Tractor Boys believe they have what it takes to prevail in the Big Boys League.
Burns again, another opportunity, it burns!
This is the Premier League. Catch the exciting battle between Manchester City FC and Ipswich Town FC on Saturday 24 August at 3 p.m. Live on SABC3 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on sabcsport.com. Hashtag we love it here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
Tell you what, I did ask you before, and sometimes I forget, so I'd love it when you send pictures of where you are around the country, around the world, ideally with your dial locked into to SAFM, so there's a chance for you to do just that. Let's get into one of the things we want to do around 10 to 5 at least once a week, right, is to pick up a feature called Personal Growth, and where we give you important insights in how you can grow yourself in your own career in just about anything you do. Now, considering it's also Women's Month, the issue of personal growth with particular reference to women and their growth in their careers is an issue we need to be talking about. So with me now is Deborah Lala, who will talk about personal growth. Deborah, appreciate your time, firstly. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Now, you are with the Regent Business School, I gather, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, thanks. So let's talk about that. I mean, first of all, what's your thoughts about the standing of women in business or in leadership in South Africa and around the world?
Okay, so female leaders are definitely coming at the forefront at this point. As things are changing in terms of the emerging scenario, we can see that women have clearly emerged. as most crucial entities because they bring about distinct qualities. And it's something that we need to consider and pay more attention to. And that's my view on it, because female leaders bring about like their empathy and the emotional intelligence, their resilience, all of those kind of qualities into leadership, which allows and encourages a more inclusive environment, whether it's in an organization or whatever it is. That's what they encourage.
So, I mean, would you say that the qualities are, I won't say superior, but they're certainly more effective when compared to, say, men in leadership?
Okay, so in terms of research, we find that, in terms of the way leadership is conducted, if you look at somebody that's more attuned to their emotions or their own emotions and those of others, are definitely better equipped to navigate through the complexities of leadership. And if you look at female leaders, in terms of research, we find that, according to research, females are definitely more attuned. They excel in emotional intelligence. And I think primarily it's because it's qualities that we develop at a very young age without even being aware of it. And what am I talking about? Like, if you think about little girls playing with the dolls, they're already building up their nurturing spirit, and they're nurturing in nature, which allows them later on to become great mentors and build strong teams. Like little girls as well, if you think about their dreaming nature, where they aspire, this young girl having big dreams, this allows them to imagine possibilities beyond the present.
So are you saying that it is always pretty obvious that women have more empathy, they nurture better, which actually means they sort of incubate others, in this case even businesses, better, and the fact that it hasn't happened in the numbers that we talk about is because of a patriarchal system that's kept them down? That means there's been a self-interest that has denied them that. Is that what you're saying?
I do believe so. I think, in terms of, with one of the articles I read about Golda Meir, which many years ago, she said that many top leadership teams of global organizations still do not realize the value of having women in key positions. And that statement, even stated many years ago, still resonates today. And there's an ongoing struggle to recognize and include women in leadership roles.
I mean, you do know the example that you've just given of Golda Meir is an example of a hotspot in the world right now, where the creation of Israel, and she was the first leader of that state, has now caused so many problems. So that's a different conversation, but I'm just adding that point for you just to get balance and context to that, yeah?
Yeah, but when you speak about the unique qualities, and as much as qualities are developed in each person individually, I'm just saying that, as women, you most of those nurturing spirits, the dreaming nature, so the dreaming nature gives rise to vision and long-term planning. It's there. But as they become more aware of it and start developing more, it just allows them to become greater leaders.
So people listening to us right now who want to advance in leadership as women leaders, right? What are the practical advices you could give them now?
I think the advice I can give up to upcoming young women leaders is always believe in yourself. Believe confidence is key. As a little girl, you dream. Don't stop dreaming. Dream big and believe in those dreams. It's important to embrace lifelong learning, whether it's short courses, advancing to MBAs, and always remain relevant. Keep growing. Continuously seek that knowledge and development, because we know that things are evolving, and as they evolve, just stay abreast with whatever's happening, and feed into that lifelong learning.
Okay, and that's yeah. Sorry, did you want to add anything else?
Don't be afraid. Yeah, don't be afraid. Take the risk. Step out of your comfort zone.
Well, the question is, how do you get out of your comfort zone? Maybe something I'll comment about Julius Malema and his comfort zone right now. Deborah, appreciate your time. Deborah Lala from the Regent Business School, commenting on the issues of women in leadership at a time where, once again, we're coming to the close of this month, and you have to measure annually, and I'm suggesting that, how are we measuring, not celebrating, just measuring advancement of women in South Africa on a year-to-year basis to say whether it's made much of a difference or not. Okay, there's some WhatsApps that I want to just voice notes that we can play.
Good afternoon, Ashraf and the team. Hey, Floyd Shibambu's departure from the EFF paralyzes Julius Malema mentally, physically, psychologically, and politically. So he's now taking this matter personal, attacking Floyd Shibambu personal. That is law of Julius Malema. And he exposed himself that he's a narcissist and a dictator last night. Thank you, Ashraf.
Okay, dictator last night.
SAFM, please address the situation of stray animals on the N2 between East London and Mthatha and all the neighboring areas. I'm a traveling person and it is rough and causing mayhem and death to the citizens of this country.
And here's another.
Your commentator around the EFF is lying. He says Julius Malema is at his weakest point in his political life in the past 15 years. Now the question I want to ask you, how strong was Malema in 2012 politically when he was expelled from the ANC?
Well, maybe that time he had nothing to lose. I think there is a big difference, isn't it? You see, when you are in leadership, at that time he was expelled from the ANC as part of the Youth League. There's so much more to lose. Just a quick one, Ashraf, that man is against Julius. Everything he says is against him. He doesn't know politics. Tell him politics are like that. Julius soldiers on, never die. Continue polishing from Temba from the Eastern Cape. Again, strong views on Julius Malema. By the way, we're going to have a chat with a guest around the issue of Julius Malema and the content of how he spoke yesterday and the tone. Do not miss that with Tebogo Ditseko coming up in a few minutes' time. And let's get the news now. It's 5 o'clock. Here's Greg Kroos.
Thank you, Ashraf. In this news update, Minister speaks on transforming home affairs and Biden speaks at Democratic Convention. Good day to you. The Home Affairs Minister, Leon Schreiber, says home affairs must be transformed in the digital arena to safeguard national security. He addressed Parliament's Home Affairs Portfolio Committee on a range of issues, including the 95 Libyan nationals who were recently deported, as well as the Miss South Africa saga. The Council for Scientific and Industrial Research has noted a significant increase in fake news and misinformation that was spread on social media during the 2024 election period as compared to 2019. This emerged during a webinar hosted by the Council and the others. Researcher Avi Mudley has attributed the rise of fake news during this year's election period to advancements in artificial intelligence technology.
In terms of the prominence of social media, I think it was more prominent in the 2024 election, and with the advancements on the AI-related side, there would be, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but that's a comparison that we could do. But I do think that the 2024 election may have contained more creativity in the misinformation that was spread in contrast to 2019.
The Limpopo Education Department says they've launched disciplinary processes against a teacher accused of the sexual assault of a grade 7 learner. The teacher at a school outside Zanin appeared in court and has been remanded in custody for a bail application next week. Department spokesperson Mosebentsha Gafe.
Department of Education is saddened by the alleged sexual assault of a 13-year-old learner by a 53-year-old teacher in Bulubedu. We strongly condemn this outrageous behavior with the contempt it deserves. The department is intensively looking onto the matter and will be taking disciplinary actions against the perpetrator. The safety of learners remains a priority for the department. The department will also be dispatching a team of experts to the family to provide the victim with psychosocial support.
The Modemole Regional Court in Limpopo has postponed the pre-trial hearing in the matter of housebreaking and theft at President Cyril Ramaphosa's Palapala farm to the 7th of October. The NPA's Mashudu Malabi Zangi says the attorneys representing the three accused asked the court for copies of the dockets before the matter could proceed.
The three accused in the matter of housebreaking of Palapala Game Farm has been postponed to 7 October 2024 in Modimolle Regional Court to allow the state to disclose the content of the docket and also to have Ovambo interpreter. The alleged accused are facing the following charges: conspiracy to commit housebreaking with intent to steal, housebreaking with intent to steal, housebreaking with intent to steal and theft, and money laundering charge will also apply to Emanuela David.
A tearful U.S. President Joe Biden's received a rapturous reception at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. In a forceful speech, he painted Republican presidential candidate, former President Donald Trump, as a threat to democracy. The BBC's Gary O'Donoghue has more.
He talked a great deal about his record, about his achievements, particularly over the last 4 years, and he made a couple of references to his Vice President, Kamala Harris. Best decision he ever made, he said. He talked about her being strong, her having integrity. I think perhaps we might have expected a bit more of a sort of full-throated endorsement throughout that speech of her candidacy, but in many ways this was his swan song, his valedictory moment.
The top story: the Home Affairs Minister says Home Affairs must be transformed in the digital arena to safeguard national security. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Khus.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, Allendale Road eastbound in Klokop has delays towards Mastiff Road. In Midrand, the N1 northbound slow moving towards Olifantsfontein Road, and Olifantsfontein Road has a police incident reported at Lever Road. In KZN, the N2 southbound queuing through Amanzimtoti, the N2 southbound queuing towards Spaghetti Junction, and the M13 eastbound in Pinetown has roadworks reported with traffic restrictions at the N3 Paradise Valley interchange. In Cape Town, the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound queuing towards Hospital Bend, the N1 outbound slow moving towards the M5 Kubik interchange, the M3 southbound slow moving towards Rhodes Drive, and the M5 southbound is slow moving towards the N2 highway. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Coming up in your sports this hour, Bruce names little-known fan David Boerden in preliminary Bafana squad for AFCON qualifiers, and Springboks welcome back World Cup winning stalwarts for home tests against All Blacks. More details at 5:30.
Oscar and Emmy winner Kevin Costner is John Dutton, a sixth-generation homesteader and devoted father. John controls the largest contiguous ranch in the United States, operating in a corrupt world where politicians are compromised by influential oil and lumber corporations and where land grabs make developers billions. Shifting alliances, unsolved murders, open wounds, and hard-earned respect puts Dutton's property in constant conflict with those it borders: an expanding town, an Indian reservation, and America's first national park. Channel your inner drama with Yellowstone, Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Borussia Dortmund understands the delight that comes with triumphing the opening clash of the league race. But Eintracht Frankfurt are not about dropping points this early. They want to complete their visit to Signal Iduna Park with 3 incredible points. This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Catch the hot contest between Borussia Dortmund and Eintracht Frankfurt on Saturday, 24 August at 6:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on sabcsport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day, where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Someone messages Ashraf, you know what? In 3 hours, you guys cover so much of what's important in South Africa, on the African continent, around the world. That's why I listen to the show. Well, I mean, thank you for that. But I'll say this much, and that's why we call the show the National Pulse. It must give you a sense of the pulse of the nation, and by extension, the pulse of the continent and the pulse of the entire world. Like, what is the world feeling right now? What do you think, therefore, today, when it comes to South Africa, what is it that moves the National Pulse today, right? So, lots more to come. We'll talk about the implications of Jacob Zuma, I understand, not appealing the decision to have him expelled as a member of the ANC. We'll talk to Wayne Duvenage about that pretty shortly. And there's a fascinating contest or competition from the South African Reserve Bank as part of their Schools Challenge, and that we'll have a chat about that in what we call the winners feature coming up just before we end the show at 6 o'clock. Okay, let's talk about the biggest issue that certainly moved all of us, I think, for the last 24 hours, which is Julius Malema's talk yesterday when he addressed the members of the EFF in Gauteng at the Orlando Community Hall in Soweto. So I have my thoughts about it. We thought, let's talk about just this, which is not so much the political aspect, but what was his tone like? What were the words he used? So how did he say it? What's the emotional connections? How was he able to communicate? Did he communicate effectively or not? We think it's that important. So with me is Tebogo Ditshego, who's the CEO of Ditshego Media. Tebogo, good chatting to you. It's been a while. Hello.
Great chatting to you, Ashraf. Thanks for having me. Great show.
Yeah, last met you shopping, and that's another conversation for another time. Anyway, right. Okay, let's do this. Before we get talking, I want to play one of the clips. Of course, there's many we can pick, right? But just one of them, and then we'll talk about the general tone of his speech and what that really means and says about him.
Fighters, I'm the one who said Floyd Shibambo can be Minister of Finance. I'm the one who said I'm even prepared to stand aside as long as you have Floyd Shibambo as a Minister of Finance. Today, I'm the one who went around seeking for positions. So fighters, you must never listen to the doomsayers who have an agenda to destroy our movement.
Of course, he said so much more. We can't play all of it now. We played them earlier on, and you can maybe listen to that via our live streaming anyway, right? But Tebogo, let's talk about this. I'm interested in the words he used. I'm interested in his tone, his body language, and how he communicated. And we thought let's pick your brain about it. What can you tell us?
Well, I watched the Gauteng Provincial Ground Forces Forum yesterday, and I also watched the press conference where Floyd Shibambo announced that he's no longer renewing his membership with the EFF, and he would like to be released from all of his responsibilities within the EFF. And if you look at what he said there in that clip, he used the word I 4 times. So he is clearly personally affected by this. Whenever you have a situation like this in the circumstances that he described, that he did not even know that Floyd Shibambo is going to resign and he's going to not renew his membership. And also, he said that Floyd Shibambo is the closest person within the EFF to him. So he feels a sense of anger, betrayal, abandonment, loss of control, confusion, uncertainty, and paranoia. So what he was trying to do was to control the narrative at the initial press conference with Floyd Shibambo. He's continuing to do that here, but now you can see that the deepest wounds are often inflicted by those who trusted the most, and he's deeply hurt by this.
So did he succeed in controlling the narrative last week, meaning he couldn't stop Floyd from leaving, so that was inevitable, that happened, right? But he did come across, and many people felt he came across very statesmanlike, very mature. So did he send out the right message last week, that is, firstly?
So if we analyze both of these events, firstly, it was his strategic objective to control the narrative, and perhaps we do a superficial and root cause analysis to say that even in the words that he used, the words that you just played, it demonstrates that he feels threatened, by what is happening. And so he sees this as perhaps even an existential threat to the economic freedom fighters. And so he's trying to ensure that the EFF does not drown. So was he successful in doing that? Absolutely not. Now, I'll explain why from a strategic point of view he was not successful. The first thing is that he does not have clear objectives in terms of what he was trying to achieve and how he will do it. And this is explained by, in the initial press conference with Floyd Shivambu, while he was trying to control the narrative and he was trying to bring out a united front, he then contradicted the second objective by then attacking Floyd Shivambu as well as the other leaders who remained silent throughout the situation that involved Floyd Shivambu and his resignation and his non-renewal of membership. And so there is no consistency in terms of remaining true and honest towards these objectives moving forward. So the strategy is not going to work.
Because look, last week he said, I mean, he made it very clear how much Floyd Shivambu means to him, talking about, and I'm paraphrasing, that the grieving is like Malema losing his mother. I mean, and that's a huge statement to make from someone who's not in your party any longer, right? Come a few days later, he's actually suggesting that any visuals, any reminders of the former deputy president will be removed. So what could have caused such a dramatic shift in such a short space of time?
So it's a lack of a strategy. So when he sat down with the people that he trusts who are left within the EFF, they did not have clear objectives and a strategy to align to those objectives. I think further than that, he scheduled a press conference almost less than 24 hours before he received the news. And he received the news on WhatsApp through a letter. And now we're talking about someone who he says he is close to. Now this person is sending you a letter. And then he is the one who requested the meeting. And so if it was face-to-face and they sat down and they had the opportunity to flesh out all of these issues, it could have been received differently. But his emotional state at the time in which he had the press conference, as well as the time in which he had the Ground Forces Provincial Forum in Gauteng yesterday, he was not in an emotional state to develop a strategy, which is cohesive enough in which he could deal with this issue. And this is why many of the things that he's doing are now working against him.
Okay, so tactically, and there's a question we've put out, that in terms of yesterday's speech, if the plan was to be able to entice the existing EFF supporters to hold on to the party and to grow, and then also to bring in new supporters who may be skeptical to say, hey, come on, be with us. The question is, did he succeed or not?
Okay, so to a certain degree, absolutely you are correct in characterizing the objective as trying to uplift the morale, try to stop the bleeding and show them that the future is bright and this is an opportunity for them to rebuild. And he looked at what are the opportunities, and he looked at the discipline of the EFF members, and he also mentioned the fact that he can see that people are being influenced by social media and they're not sticking firm to their principles. So he did a few things right, and there will be people, and a vast number of people who will remain because of the manner in which he's trying to increase the morale. But the issue is, if you are really trying to keep members within the EFF and trying to attract new members so that you can grow in less than 24 months when we have the local government elections, you will not do that, by casting aspersions on people who have left on a note that which they were hoping it would be amicable. You cannot do that, because he said he's even wondering whether or not these people have poisoned him. That is a very serious allegation. So when somebody resigns within the organization, of course it's going to be painful. Sometimes you may feel betrayed and insecure and powerless, but the manner in which you deal with it is going to demonstrate the character of the institution. And I don't think he was in the emotional state to deal with these issues. He needed a proper strategy in order to move forward in a more positive light.
So would you say, and there's been accusations or allegations against Malema in the past, which is he's a one-man show, and would you say therefore that yesterday proved that he spoke as Malema and not as a consultative leader of a political party?
So that's a brilliant point. When you said earlier on, he said when he received the news, it reminded him of the pain that he felt when his mother had passed away. He's thinking about how it affects him personally. He's talking about himself. At the end of the speech during Floyd Shivambu's press conference with the EFF, at the end of his speech, he said that his casket is going to be draped in the colors of the EFF, with the flag of the EFF. He will remain loyal to the EFF. He's thinking about himself. He needs to get out of that cocoon and start to think about the organization. I didn't see him thanking Floyd Shivambu for his service. He may have done so, but it was not highlighted, as something that, and he wasn't specific in terms of what he's thanking him for. That I am thanking you for being a great policy developer, that you built the structures from scratch, that you gave us political direction, your intellectual capacity, you are going to be missed, and the door is open. He did say the door is open, but he was not specific in terms of the contributions of Floyd Shivambu, and he spoke way too much about himself.
Okay.
And so in order to increase the psychological distance, he needs other people to get involved so that he can get the messaging right and beyond the self to the institution.
And then he also made a point very, very clearly, like, if you want to go now. And he repeated that like 4 or 5 times, I think it was, like, go now. And this brings me maybe to the last point, right? So, the ANC's had its own issues, in terms of where they are as a political party. They also had their own Tumamina moment in terms of a change of leadership. What does the EFF therefore need to be doing now strategically and therefore communicating that to the public?
Well, firstly, they need to underpin themselves with the philosophy that it is not the strongest species that survives, it is not even the most intelligent, but it is the ones that are most adaptable to change. They need to look at the current environment, what has happened in the past, and how they can adapt themselves to a changing environment in order for them to be as relevant as possible moving forward. They need to accept the weaknesses of their organizations, the strengths, but look at the opportunities as well as the threats. That is how they are going to be in a position to be more strategic and come out stronger. But if we do not see that, if we don't see a greater strategic approach with some of the country's leading thinkers to come on board to assist in terms of turning the institutions around, then they're going to continue to see a decline in their electoral support moving into the local government.
And I take it, therefore, Tebogo, that the next public speech from Malema would be critically important. Let's see what he does next. Appreciate your time, and as you said, maybe here's the point about adaptability. Clearly, you're not his speechwriter. I think we know that part. But the other one is maybe learn from Nokia and BlackBerry. You have to remain relevant, and that applies to just about every political party. In fact, it applies to you and I as well. Lots more to come on the show. Tebogo, thanks for your time.
The Serengeti, located on the northern part of Tanzania, bordering Kenya on the north and Ngorongoro in the south. Home to the African Big Five and millions of zebras, birds and other predators. Serengeti 2 returns to the unspoiled corner of the Serengeti for more animal drama. There's humor, heartbreak, and nail-biting tension as new characters move in and familiar faces continue their stories. Channel your inner adventurer with Serengeti 2, Sundays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
We can do this. It's been a long time coming. This deserves to grow. It's a great business. If they don't like it, someone else will. And fund me so I can expand. Maybe I can offer them shares. I need to retain equity for staff. It's going to be good for recruitment. Yeah.
Possible begins with that one great idea. When Telkom enables entrepreneurs to make their ingenuity a reality, we grow local economies. Telkom. Possible begins here.
SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
Oh, this is close! Sabine and the South Africans finally get a medal with the silver, and at last, Akani Sabine is an Olympic medalist. I'm really pleased for Sabine.
Everyone has been wishing for a medal for me, and I've got my medal now. I'm really happy with getting the medal.
For the love of the game!
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, let's get on to, first of all, let me tell you this much, because it's all related to former President Jacob Zuma as well. Firstly, news that 10 MK party members who are now challenging their removal from Parliament in the Western Cape High Court. Okay, they'll be represented by the lawyer Wendy Cele, and that matter will be heard tomorrow. So that just so that you know that they're challenging that removal. Certainly dramatic issues happening within the MK party. But let's move on to other issues. We know that yesterday was significant, okay, because the ANC confirmed that it has finally closed the Jacob Zuma chapter. This after, remember, he was suspended or expelled, that's the right word, he was expelled from the ANC. He had 21 days to appeal, and the 21st day of the appeal lapsed yesterday. So in simple South African parlance, that could be like Jacob Zuma, the ANC, finish and klar. Maybe, right. So what does this mean now for the ANC? What does it mean for Jacob Zuma as well? And why would he not have appealed it, considering that they certainly challenged the issues before? Let's get the thoughts of Professor Andre Duvenach, who is a political analyst as always. Good chatting to you, Prof. Thanks for your time.
Good afternoon. Nice talking again.
Much appreciated. Right. Are you surprised that Jacob Zuma did not appeal?
By no means. Since 2017, and especially after 2019, Jacob Zuma was playing games with the ANC, initially within the ANC, and later on from outside the ANC. It was already before the election absolutely clear that he's committed to something else, the MK party, and he's going to oppose the Ramaphosa ANC, as he referred to it, with everything possible. So yes, he waited for them to fire him from the party. He do not want to come back. He made his mark during the election, and I believe he is at the moment in a position where he is relatively strong in terms of competition with the ANC, and there's even the possibility that people from the ANC may deflect it, as we listen to the warning from Panyasa Lesufi over the weekend in Boksburg, addressing the PEC of the ANC in Gauteng. So yes, he's a master tactician and he's playing games all the time.
All right, but if he was that tactical, wouldn't the appeal would have been another gambit to play games and to just prolong this issue and therefore to distract the ANC while the MK party makes other gains elsewhere?
I think the momentum for Mr. Zuma in person shifted so far away from the ANC that there's not a lot to win from the ANC from within. Maybe a few people that may leave the ANC, Floyd Shivambu style, going to the MK party. But as you mentioned earlier in the previous interview, there's also a lot of dynamics going on within the MK party. And I think his priority at the moment and his leadership is to stabilize the MK party, get his people in position. Because what he's doing at the moment is to purify the party from all, let's call it, foreign elements or elements he do not want to have within the party, positioning his own people. And these people, many of them are related to state capture, was part of the Zuma elite. We are thinking about a number of people. Brian Molefe, for example, is one of them. So it's all about tactics and positioning, but the priority is now what is going on within MK and not within the ANC.
Okay, so you're saying, to confirm, the ANC-Zuma conversation, that's history now?
It is history to the extent that he's no more part of that structures in any formal way, but it's not the end of the relationship because a relationship can be conflicting. And without any doubt, this is just a manifestation of a conflict. And now I'm referring to the MK party that was originally within the structures of the ANC. So the relationship of conflict will continue, but it's now two separate identities. And my take on it is that Zuma will give all his attention to the MK party.
So let's then talk about your thoughts about the MK party's ability to be able to attract new blood, but in this case, new blood is new, very, very experienced, high-profile blood into the party. Has that surprised you?
No, it doesn't surprise me, although I think we can calculate that the people that will be interested in the MK party were people that were being aligned to Jacob Zuma, probably in the one or another corrupt way. And my take on it is that Zuma is at the moment assembling the political elite that is corrupt. That's why I'm referring to that grouping as the coalition of the corrupt. But yes, some of them were influential people in South African politics and or in the corporate sector or within the state
but
administration.
You see, that's the point. There are some people, and as you say, the politically elite of the corrupt, and some may say, let's throw in the word alleged for that, but I hear you. But it's not like everybody who's joined the party has had any allegations against them. So there are people who have no allegations of corruption at all, and they still see the future within the MK. Why do you think that's the case?
Well, I think it's about opportunity. We know that many of them believe they didn't get the opportunity within the framework of the ANC. We know there were a lot of conflict within the structures about positioning people, etc., etc. But then there's also a very important other factor, and that is that the politics of utility, the politics of opportunity, may lie within the MK party because this is a growing party. This is a party that's creating momentum. And you can add Zulu nationalism to it because without any doubt, there's a strong base of Zulu nationalism. And it may be a very sound tactical move on the side of the MK party to bring in Floyd Shivambu because he has the ability to mobilize outside the exclusive framework of, let's call it, Zulu nationalism.
Well, I mean, that's the point. Therefore, and then let's leave it at that. That's the point. There's evidence that the party is growing, not just in terms of that election of the very first one, but in terms of the people with high profiles, nationally and provincially, who are like saying, hold it, I want to be a part of that party. Prof. Andre Duvenage, appreciate your time. Certainly interesting insights, and you as the audience can challenge those insights by WhatsApping us, voice notes, call in as well, also tweet out and comment on Facebook as well. Let's get the news headlines. It's 5:30. Here's Greg House.
Quick look at the headlines. A Durban-based infectious disease specialist says African countries need to come together to strengthen the continent's response and prevent the spread of Mpox. The Home Affairs Minister says Home Affairs must be transformed in the digital arena to safeguard national security. And media platform X has confirmed it will close its operations in Brazil effective immediately due to what it called censorship orders by a Brazilian judge. There's a full update at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N12 eastbound in Bedford View has a crash after Giluli's interchange. The M1 southbound is queuing through Kraan interchange towards Boysons. Mabopane Highway northbound in Pretoria, slow moving towards Theo Martins. In Midrand, the N1 northbound slow moving towards Olifantsfontein Road. And Olifantsfontein Road has a police incident reported at Lever Road. In KZN, the N3 westbound is stationary truck after a Camperdown exit. The N2 southbound is slow moving towards Spaghetti Junction. The M7 westbound has a stationary truck just before Belleville Road exit. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound slow moving towards Okavongo Road, the N7 northbound slow moving towards Malibongwe Drive, the M5 southbound is slow moving towards Milner Road, and the M3 southbound slow moving towards Rhodes Drive. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Right, let's talk football. Bafana.
Yes, Bafana coach Hugo Bruce has named his 38-man preliminary squad for the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers, and in notable inclusions, Netherlands-born forward Simon van Duvenboerden, who plays for Vitesse, is also included in the side, and also alongside Kaizer Chiefs defender Rashwan Dotley, with Luke Leroux and Mihlali Mayambela, who return to the side. South Africa play Uganda on the 6th of September at Orlando Stadium, then go to East Africa to face South Sudan on the 10th of September. Meanwhile, South Africa is in pole position to host the 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations in July next year, and SAFA President Danny Jordan has confirmed that they have already engaged the government about their plans. Morocco was set to host the WAFCON tournament this year, but it was postponed to next year as it clashed with the Olympics. The North African country is also set to host the men's AFCON in December 2025, and they have since stepped aside from hosting the WAFCON. And Jordan says that they have made their intentions clear to CAF about hosting WAFCON.
Well, we have submitted to CAF our intention for the next WAFCON. Of course, that WAFCON was awarded to Morocco. CAF must now respond to us, and if they respond and say yes, we will definitely take the opportunity, because that gives us the opportunity to defend our trophy at home. We are the African champions, and it's a huge opportunity for Banyana.
In the meantime, Wolves have made an offer to sign Arsenal goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale on a season-long loan deal. The bid, which was submitted yesterday, includes an option to make the move permanent in next year. The 26-year-old lost his Arsenal place in 2023 following the arrival of David Raya on loan from Brentford. The Gunners have since signed the Spaniard on a permanent basis, and despite making just 11 appearances last season, Ramsdale still made England's Euro squad. Then in rugby, Rassie Rasmus has named the Springbok squad for the 2 tests against the All Blacks. Steven Kishoff, Jaden Hendricks and Kenan Moody are back from injury. Jasper Visser and Andre Esterhuizen are making a return from suspension, while Morné van der Berg and Johan Grobler has been left out. South Africa face New Zealand next week Saturday and the 7th of September. In cricket, if you're a cricket fan, well, get ready to be part of yet another exciting cricket season, as tickets for the Proteas Men and Women International Inbound Series are set to go on sale on the 26th of August. First up on the calendar is a 4-match T20 series between the two ICC Men's World Cup 2024 finalists, with the Proteas men having an immediate score to settle when the two teams meet from the 8th to the 15th of November. The Proteas men will then welcome Sri Lanka for a 2-match test series starting in Durban at the Kensbet Stadium from the 27th of November to the 1st of December, before the series wraps up in Gqeberha at St. George's Park from the 5th to the 9th of December. In tennis, world number 1 Jannik Sinner has been cleared after testing positive for doping. The incident is said to have occurred during the Indian Wells tournament in March, where his fitness trainer purchased a product that was used to care for a cut on his finger of Sinner's physiotherapist. Now, the physio then treated Jannik without gloves, which caused the contamination of the banned substance. With that said, it is a wrap from my side.
Tell you what, I got so a few days ago I got Peter saying, Ashraf, it's not cool. We Man United supporters do not appreciate your negativity. And then the same Peter today said, Ashraf, just so you know, Man United won their first game.
Yes, they did.
Peter, for the record, I love Man United. I promise you that.
He's actually a Manchester United fan.
My entire social calendar on the weekend is built around when Man United plays. Just so you know that.
And we're happy that.
But I can be critical, because they certainly 8th on the log. They haven't won the league title. I mean, that's the reality. That's what you based it on last season.
And surprisingly enough, Brighton is at the top. A new coach, a very young coach, 31 years old. I was reading an article that he's got 5 players in that squad that are way older than him, and the dynamics of a young coach coaching older players.
So the Brighton coach is clearly a bright guy. But anyway, it's day one. More sports tomorrow.
More sports tomorrow.
The world's best cooking show is finally here. MasterChef South Africa Season 5. you'll meet 20 talented home cooks from around Mzansi, Noma Upumali. And no matter your favorite dish, see if the chefs can handle the heat in the kitchen in a race to be crowned MasterChef South Africa. Every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. only on S3 Channel 193. MasterChef South Africa, the world's best cooking show, proudly sponsored by Pick n Pay.
Hey Mike, congratulations on your retirement.
Thanks, Andile. Are you preparing for it?
Yes, but not just for myself.
For you and?
For me and my employees.
Oh.
You know, since we moved to Old Mutual Corporate, their retirement funds have not only been safe and secure, but gaining competitive returns through exposure to diverse investment markets.
Impressive.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
20 outfits of the Premier League are back on the battlefield for another spectacular season with ambitions to play the world's most competitive and compelling football.
Rodri! City 3! West Ham 1!
This is the massive fight for the ultimate glory.
Caicedo, is he going to try and beat it from inside his own half? Oh, Moises Caicedo! I can't believe it! What a way to score your first Chelsea goal!
Experience the 2024-2025 Premier League season on Saturdays at 3 p.m. live on SABC3 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on sabcsport.com. Hashtag we love it here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Peter, I see you got a quick reply. Thank you, Ashraf. I love your show. Okay, much appreciated. Jimmy Moya, as always, hosts the SAFM Market Update. Jimmy, you'll be pleased to know you should be listening. Just now, we'll be chatting about the South African Reserve Bank Monetary Policy Committee Schools Challenge, just so you know, right? Anyway, we have other important issues to talk to you about. Let's start with the moving markets.
Good evening, Ashraf. Good evening to the listeners. Yes, there's been a lot of movement in the market space. If we just start with Asian markets, it would make sense they would have been open first. We got interest rate decision out of China that was left unchanged, and the Asian markets, Chinese markets in particular, didn't really respond well to that. Shanghai was down 1.1% on the day. Hong Kong 0.48% in the red, while Sydney was the only Asian market in the green, up about 0.1%. If we look at the Nikkei in Tokyo, that was in the green actually as well, 2% in the green. And then we move on to European markets. They were all in the red. The CAC 40 in France down 0.1%, the DAX almost 0.5%, and the FTSE in London almost 1% in the red. If we look at some local movements, the Rand giving back a lot of ground against all of the major currencies, is back at 17.85 against the dollar, 23.25 against the euro, the pound rather, and 19.83 against the euro. One Australian dollar will cost you 12 rand and 3 cents. I think the markets are a bit nervous around the Jackson Hole symposium that's coming up later this week. We saw that we also got we've gotten Canadian CPI data recently, a couple of hours ago, as well as European CPI inflation data, and both have come in bang on target with estimates. So markets are clearly nervous about more than what we are seeing at the moment. If we look at some local movements, the all share finishing flat to marginally in the red, the top 40 as well. Financials down 0.6%, industrials down 0.4%, resources the only surviving sector there, up 1.5%. So we didn't have the strongest of days today, but what we do have coming up on the show today is we're going to be taking a look at the latest results from Sasol. They gave us their annual results for the year. I'm going to speak to the Sasol CEO. Big numbers there. Net debt of 73 billion rand, impairments of just under 57 billion rand, no dividend, despite them having a dividend policy that would suggest that they should have paid dividend, but we're going to discuss that as well, amongst other stories. We've also got a story, we'll be taking a look at the latest developments with the Cross Trainer brand. They are the outlets that sell us our shoes and our trainers throughout South Africa. They have gone into business rescue. We're going to speak to a business rescue specialist around that so that we can get a sense of what's happening there and what businesses might need to be on the lookout for there. There's also some positive news, and we're going to be looking at the latest developments from Qatar Airways. They've taken a 25% stake in Airlink. We're going to look at that deal. We're going to see what's happening there. try and understand how to make sense of it and what it means for you and I as consumers, of course. And then because it is Tuesday, we have our Property Tuesday segment today, and we're going to be taking a look at the Premier Hotel in Limpopo, in Thohoyandou in particular. It is a female-owned and female-led hotel, a business that's the first of many hotels to come. We're going to speak to the founder of that business and try and understand how they built the business, how they built that hotel, and what next for that business. So we've got quite a bit coming up on our show, and some of the market indicators leave much to be discussed and much to be desired.
Right, and let's just end with something we want to do regularly, which is like the markets masterclass. So let's talk about this and teach me something. Voting rights versus ownership. What does that mean?
So effectively, in a nutshell, you can have the voting rights or the ability. So voting rights are defined as the ability to influence the decision of a company. The ownership is the right to share in the economic fruits or the economic benefits of the company. So you can have ownership of a company in the form of holding shares, being a shareholder, holding common shares, holding non-preferential shares or ordinary shares as they're referred to, that entitle you to a dividend, they entitle you to attend an AGM, they entitle you to voice your opinions at said AGM. But having voting rights is slightly different. That gives you a lot more influence and a lot more power in terms of the your say in that company. So if you think about any leading companies in South Africa, I'll use Shoprite as an example, where there are common shareholders such as you and I that have bought our shares through the JSE or through any other platform where we buy the shares, and then there are voting rights that are specifically associated with certain individuals such as Dr. Christo Visa that entitle Dr. Visa to make certain or to have certain voting powers over and above just being a shareholder. So you can have voting rights or you can be a shareholder. It doesn't necessarily mean because you're a shareholder you can influence the decisions of a company.
Okay, your time is up. I voted. Thank you for your time, Jimmy. Enjoy your show coming up at 6, and I may encourage everybody else to listen to that show. We're going to have this fascinating Reserve Bank School Challenge winners coming up shortly, so listen out for that. Let's see if we can get some calls in the meantime. Lungisa, hi from Cape Town. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, you're live. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes. I wanted to talk about this protection thing.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah. Yes, I'm listening. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm in Cape Town, and I can see that people in the Eastern Cape are faced with this. And I've been in the Port Elizabeth, I've been in Amtata, I'm staying in Cape Town. This protection thing, the police first and foremost, of course, some of them are in it. Right today, I was talking to one of the young men who was doing a business of tailor business. He closed the shop, and when he reported to the police that these people are demanding this, the police said he must pay, because if he doesn't pay, they are going to kill him. By the time they come, he'll be dead. So he ended up closing the shop. So the police do not, sometimes we can blame them, and yet it's because they are not equipped enough. They don't have enough vehicles, and they serve the police. They've got a shooting.
Well, that is such a sad story, you see, isn't it? It's really, really sad, Lungisa. And again, it goes back to my point that criminals do what they want because they know they can't really, really be nailed. Sorry to hear that story. Thanks for calling in, right? Let's get to another on violence in schools this time. Impo, hi.
How are you?
I'm good indeed. Go ahead, Impo. Your thoughts?
Look, man, this thing of kids killing each other, like the 17-year-old that was arrested, it happens to all schools. You know, in our school, there's these boys who are like sort of gang boys. And these boys, they took a lady who was on a wheelchair. She's using a electric wheelchair. And then she's doing grade 10. You know what they did? That they were riding it, like they were twisting it, like, you know, like they're twisting this 325 and stuff. And they broke the damn fucking, sorry for that, they broke the wheelchair. And now the lady, you know, now the parents, that was a donation from the parents. Now the parents, they have to pick up the girl and take her to school and then bring her. And as a community, when we tell the parents to say, look, can we just come together and help these parents to fix this wheelchair? Because they've given the parents of those boys, we give them the quotation, it's 8,200. And we say, can you fix this so that this girl can go to school? Her mother cannot pick her up every day to school and then pick her up there, because it's a process. You know what the parents say? The parents say, no, we must go 50-50. If the parents must pay for, we can also pay because these are kids. But how do you say this? You see this boys now,
they don't have the money. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, I'll move on. Thank you for alerting us to that story again. It is, there's just too many sad stories like that, Impo. Thanks for that. And your apology accepted as well, right? Let's get to further comments. I think we've got Shata in George. Have I got that right? Yeah, also in the Southern Cape region. Shata, hi.
Ashraf, how are you?
I'm good indeed. Go ahead, your point.
Yes, Ashraf. I just wanted to say to the analyst that you had earlier about the EFF.
Right, go ahead.
You know, there's a whole lot of things that Julius Malema had came out of as a person and as a leader. I mean, we're talking about the SARS things. We're talking about how the media attacked him like they are attacking his, what we call, misfortunes right now in the organization. But you know what? You're going to be surprised how he's going to come back. And he's going to change the whole situation. That rest assured. I mean, the media is now, I remember now in the 2011, 2010, 2013, the media was all against Julius Malema and whatever he tried to achieve, and he defeated all odds. And it is still going to happen. And when it happens this time, it's going to be a much more greater victory.
Well, I got you. I don't know if you can say the media were against it. I mean, there's EFF people fighting amongst each other. So you can't just be the media. Media reflects the reality. Does ask questions, but does reflect the reality. Shout out, thanks for that. Talking about the MK party. So here's one anonymous saying, I was disappointed to hear your guest you have just had with his overgeneralization about the MK party. Referring to Andre Duvenage, right? Prof, that is surely untrue that everyone in the MK party is corrupt. Well, you're right, and I told him that. So that's why I said alleged. You can't just be everybody. Clearly spot on about that. Right, let's see if there's another call we can take. I think we have, no, we don't. What we'll do is maybe we'll get another one, but we will talk about the South African Reserve Bank Monetary Policy Committee Schools Challenge as part of this feature we called Winning after this.
SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, celebrates Team SA medalists.
A brilliant silver for Johan van Dijk.
The plan was to win a medal. That was the goal. So I'm just so grateful and thankful that everything went as it should. For me, it's to be an inspiration to all the younger girls in South Africa. There's so much power and passion. I think our South African women really have a lot of resilience.
For the love of the game. Get your payments done with the utmost security and convenience when you purchase a TV license now. With our new secure payment systems with a one-time PIN OTP feature and the choice of receiving your OTP via SMS or email, you can ensure prompt and secure payments. The additional use of capture will protect you against spam and automated data attractions. With TV licenses, you can enjoy watching all your favorite shows or movies that matter to you. Get yours today. Visit www.tvlic.co.za.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
SAFM, leading the conversation.
Tell you what, one of the things that we want to do is we wrap up the show as much as we can with this feature called Winning, where we focus on people who are just winning at whatever they do, right? So today, the Reserve Bank Governor, Lesesha Kganyago, and the Minister of Basic Education, Siviwe Kharube, announced the winners of the 2024 South African Reserve Bank Monetary Policy Committee Schools Challenge. That last part is important. It's a challenge for people in school. So this year, 1,364 learners participated in this workshop designed to enhance their understanding of economics, the transmission of monetary policy, into the economy and the application of real-time data analysis to support their decisions. So we've got winners, because we're talking about winning here. And this year's winners, Ruth Koza, one of them, a learner from Panorama Secondary School, first up. And then Candy Mabele, who's also from Panorama Secondary School, so clearly they're there. And they are the big winners that we're going to talk to now. So, Ruth, first of all, hello to you. Hi.
Hello.
Good talking to you. And Candy, hello, how are you?
I'm good, and you guys?
Right, so Ruth and Candy, big winners, and congratulations. Let me give you some applause here. We need to get some sound here that like sort of winning applause sound. That just makes more sense, right? Ruth, let's start with you firstly. I mean, it's a fabulous win for you. Tell me what does it mean for you?
It means a lot. Like, winning this competition, first of all, means the world. Because one of the prizes that we actually get from this competition is a bursary. And that means that next year our university fees are all covered. And we'll be able to study what we want and covered by the bank. That is honestly the first great thing from this competition. And secondly, I'd say the knowledge that we learned from this competition, all the economics that were taught, everything, it's just worth it.
So I see, I mean, and part of your title is not just Panorama Secondary School, it says Governor of the Reserve Bank. So has that been like an appointment made to you because of the competition?
Yeah, it is, in a way.
Oh, in a way, okay. Well, maybe you can tell the governor, the actual governor, like maybe he can go into retirement. You never know. Kenny, let me bring you in as well. Tell me, give me your thoughts about knowing that you're one of these big winners.
I'm so overjoyed and excited, but above it all, I'm so thankful for the fact that we have a bursary for next year. So now we have more motivation to actually study. So I'm excited, I'm happy, I'm thankful above it all. And going forward, I know now that I actually have a bursary to lean back on next year. I don't have to worry about a lot. All I have to do is just study.
So you sort of half answered the question. What do you get? You get a bursary to study where? School or now at university? Where would you be placed?
We get a bursary to study in varsity next year. So we get to study anywhere we want to study. We get to study any course we want to. All fees covered, book allowances, accommodation, varsity fees, monthly stipend, all of it is covered.
Oh, goodness, man. And you are called the Deputy Governor of the Reserve Bank. I mean, that's the title given to you, right? Yeah?
Yes.
Sounds very cool. I think it does sound cool. So tell me, Ruth, let me bring you in once again. What did you have to do? I mean, what were you asked to do? We understand the basic premise of this entire competition is to create an understanding of monetary policy. That's the overall goal. But what were you required to do?
Okay. Can I start by saying it was a lot? So this competition, it started in February, where we attended a briefing and they told us that we need to write an essay of 1,000 words. And basically in this essay, it is the Reserve Bank, the MPC statement. And we had to write this essay with in the structure of the real MPC statement. So we had to do a lot of research. We had to go back to the governor's speeches and see how he did it, the things that he said, the choice of words that he used in his statements, and we had to do a lot of research. And after that, we submitted it, and they told us that we're part of the finalists, and that was great. And then we had to now prepare for the presentations that were done about a week ago from now. And we had to do more research. We had to update our essay. We had to see what we can add that's relevant to our essay. And on my part, I had to practice presenting. I had to present in front of my friends. There was a time I even had to present in front of my teachers. All of them were just sitting there, and we had to learn from that. So it was a learning experience for all of us, but that's how it came about.
Well, sounds fabulous. Very, very taxing, apt like running a marathon, I suppose, in a very different way. Candy, let me bring you in as well once again. So, Ruth used the word "we" a few times. I mean, did she work with you? You come from the same school, or did you have to present separately?
We are coming from the same school, so we were in the same group. Okay. And whenever she refers to us as we, it's the rest of the team.
Okay, so your entire team at Panorama Secondary worked together, right? But perhaps give us an insight into the essay. But then, do you do individual essays or it's one essay?
It's one essay compiled by the team.
I got that. Okay, give us some maybe just short bullet points about what did you guys present. You got like a minute to just say that, so don't spend too much time on it.
Okay. So in our essay, we presented an essay which is similar to the monetary policy. So we were looking at economic and inflation indicators, and we had to reach an interstate decision which would benefit the economy as a whole.
Okay, right. And Ruth, I mean, did you get feedback? Well, you had to get, right? Once it was presented and there was an adjudication committee that said, we like this because of what?
Actually, when we finished presenting, nobody told us anything. And that made it worse, made the stress worse for us because we were unsure of how did we do, what position would we get and everything. But we kept on believing that we're number one, and we kept on praying that we'd be number one. But it's only now, after the ceremony, where we're able to talk to the judges and talk to some of the panel members that were there, and they explained to us what exactly from our presentations made them say, okay, this school deserves to be number one. And from what we answered, it's only today that we actually heard that.
And now you guys are the big winners. Right, we got like 30 seconds to wrap up. So maybe just Ruth from your side very quickly, then we'll get Candy to comment as well. Just ultimately, where do you go next? Not the award, in terms of what's your big career plan? You got 30 seconds.
Okay, from here I'd like to study econometrics and work in the Reserve Bank one day, and by the grace of God become governor one day.
Oh, so he already says governor of the Reserve Bank. Candy, what about you, Candy?
For me, my forward is also studying econometrics or maybe business informatics going forward. And I also pray by the grace of God that one day I find myself as being part of the South African Reserve Bank people.
Okay, and maybe I want to do a dress rehearsal or a dry run. So just imagine one day I say, okay, well, there we are. We have the newly appointed Governor of the Reserve Bank, Ruth Khoza. Ruth, good chatting to you and welcome to the National Pulse. And I'll do the same thing to say we have the new Reserve Bank Governor, Candy Mabele. Welcome to the show. So there you are. It's happened. It's happened already. Can you see the world has changed? Okay, that's where we're going to leave it. Thanks for your time and great chatting to you guys. We love to speak to winners, and you guys are certainly winning. It's a lovely, lovely story to end the show. Let's get the news now. It's 6 o'clock. Here's Greg.
Thank you again, Ashraf. In this news update, call for African countries to work together on tackling Mpox, and Minister speaks on transforming home affairs. Good evening. A Durban-based infectious disease specialist says African countries need to come together to strengthen the continent's response and prevent the spread of Mpox. That's according to Dr.